All right, you guys. It is time. It is time. The NFL draft is now open, as Roger Goodell has officially said. It is on the clock. And we all know what the deal is, y'all. We all understand what is about to happen. We all understand that the Las Vegas Raiders are pretty much going to, I don't even know why they even opening this thing, but like I said, Goodell is at the podium now, you guys. And he is officially opening the 2026 NFL draft, even though he's dragging his feet a little bit this year. So I have already done this once this evening, so I hope you guys forgive me for the rough start that I had. So, like I said, y'all forgive me. So, y'all hit me up out there. Y'all don't be shy. Y'all come on and hit your boy Mr. CeeLo up and give him a little bit of love. Because, like I said, I like all of you. I like all of these wonderful teams out there that are about to make their selections. And of course, you guys already know that the Vegas Raiders are not, that the Las Vegas Raiders are the ones that are on the clock. So they're doing their thing. They're bringing all of these Pittsburgh Steelers greats out here. So you know how that works. You know, if that irritates you guys a little bit, please don't let it. You know, this is going to be a great night for many of us. Looking at all these greats from Hines Ward to, I'm not even a crazy fan of the Steelers, but I can tell you one thing. Just looking at some of these old players that I grew up watching is actually pretty, it's actually pretty, you know, it brings back a lot of memories. You know, it really does. Watching them wave the terrible towels and seeing guys like TJ Watt out there. So, yeah, I'm actually ready for this. You know, I think, as I said before, you know, got Fernando Mendoza. We already know. And, of course, now they got Terry Bradshaw out there. They prolonging this thing, man. They are really prolonging this thing. So, guys, please be patient. As they're boring us to death with these, sorry, Steeler Nation, that's just the way it is. Listen, nobody wants to see your Steeler guys except us. You know, we're not the ones that want to watch them, but I think it's pretty obvious that Fernando Mendoza is going to be the selection here at number one. The question is, who is going to be, how's the board going to fall with, you know, from Mendoza on down? I think, to me, this is one of the most intriguing top fives we've had the pleasure of dealing with. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I don't know why they had to bring all the Steelers out. You know, they could have done that after the Mendoza pick, in my opinion, you know, because we all know, you know, I guess, I don't know. I'm just not one of those guys that, you know, if we know what something is, I want you to go ahead and bring it to me. You know, allow the Jets and those other teams an opportunity to really test the waters and see what they're going to do. But I mean, right now they're showing us the Raiders. You know, they're showing us the Raiders war room, and now they're showing Mendoza's home in Miami, which we already know what that is. Come on, let's not play. Like I said, they're officially on the clock, and they're going to sit and they're going to talk. And realistically, I would be absolutely floored if the Raiders did anything outside of taking Fernando Mendoza. You know, unless the Jets just, to me, the Jets have so many things that they could do. You know, as the graphic is up, 6'4" and 3 1/4, 236. The only question I have is when he was at Cal last year, there was a lot of things that he didn't do well. Now, I will admit, they've got some serious weaponry on that Indiana team. If you didn't watch Indiana last year until the national title game, they've got some guys in this draft that are going to be some serious playmakers at that wide receiver. You know, one of them being Omar Cooper, and if I recall correctly, they've got two guys that are coming back, and Elijah Surratt is another guy who's projected to go possibly mid third, late second. But they've got two guys coming back from that, you know, from that team that won the national championship. Guys, hold on for a second. I'll be right back. I am back, you guys. Sorry about that. Had to straighten out something. That's kind of the issue when you go live. So, you know, guys, bear with me. No major graphics and whatnot. Not yet. That's where we are. We're at the start here at Gridiron Gab Pro Style. I know the show is almost 3 years old. Thank you so much for those that are out there. I want to give a big gab out to my kids. I know they're watching. Big gab out to Bruce and his party. I know they're going to be doing their thing over there at the format. And Splendid Steve, hope you out there checking me out. I know you are, my friend. Thank you so much for all that you do. Appreciate you. And my buddy Brad, I want to give him a big gab out too. I want to give my co-worker a big gab out tonight for her watching. She's so supportive of everything. And I'm just thankful that she is been pushing me to do this. But we are just under 5 minutes. Don't know why the Raiders are just dragging this out. It's just annoying as I don't know what. And it's just kind of like, we know what you're doing. But the Raiders had some major additions from to me, Kobe Dean and Kwity Paye were absolutely massive in the free agent market. Because now it's a situation where I said all along that I thought they needed to trade some of their picks to get more talent. But you see with this Raider team, they made some really good acquisitions in the free agent market, and it's gonna allow them to do quite a few things. But as I said, as we approach this, and I was telling you guys earlier, there's gonna be 6 teams that we don't see here tonight. One of them being the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Atlanta Falcons, Green Bay Packers, Denver Broncos, Indianapolis Colts, and the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, for the most part, when you look at this Raiders team, a lot of the issues are, you can't say it was just Pete Carroll. It was just a combination of things. But now officially the pick is in. It took long enough. Took over 5 minutes for this pick to come in. I mean, we all know who it was going to be. I don't understand why this had to be a major surprise. We all know what the deal was. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's just a situation where, I mean, just go ahead and say it already. We already know. And now we're just waiting for the moment when Roger Goodell comes out and makes the announcement, and majority of all of us looking, we all know we're just waiting for the official word. And he has yet to take the stage. So I'm like, bro, come on now. I mean, now this is good for the Jets. It's very good for the Jets. The Jets probably taking phone calls. It would not surprise me if the Gang Green is actually taking some, calls on this situation. Like I said, here we go. Here we go, people. Can we get a little volume, y'all? Of his 20th draft as commissioner is the Raiders choosing who we expect a new quarterback.
With the first pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Fernando Mendoza, quarterback, Indiana.
Well, there there you go, people. I think it was pretty obvious. The whole family's wearing black suits, and really nobody was going to give them, the type of deal that was just going to warrant them coming off of it. And I remember saying to you guys that I thought it was going to have to take a serious haul for the Raiders to come off of Fernando Mendoza. It's been a while since we had a guy that was a clear-cut and, just absolute runaway number one draft pick, and other than Joe Burrow. But it's been a minute since we had a guy that was just that big of a runaway of a number one overall pick. I mean, there was, talk of the Browns showing up, at the coaches and owners meeting, talking about trading for 5 years worth of picks, and realistically, I don't have an issue with that. I know a lot of people said they had an issue with it. I mean, I wouldn't encourage it, I'll say that, but, with Mendoza, to me, he was a guy that, in my opinion, just kind of caught on, rather late. He has some really good, really great skill set. He's the prototypical quarterback that you want, 6 foot, nearly 6'5", 230 pounds. He's just everything that you want in a player. As I said, quarterback that is, 6'5", 200, over 230 pounds, and like I said, he's got the intangibles. And now he joins Kirk Cousins and Aiden Connell. But here's the thing: is he going to be the starter day one? Now we've heard so many say that no, that's not the case. Let's keep it in perspective. As much as Kirk Cousins is a gunslinger and he can win games, I do agree that people are going to want to see Fernando Mendoza. You don't want to throw him in the fire, and you did see some positive things happen with Kirk Cousins in Atlanta at the end of the season. Now, here's the question. The Raiders don't have a whole lot to work with when it comes to the picks. Now, they got all of their picks and an extra fourth, but you gonna have to snatch one of these speedy guys that can take the top off the D when it comes to getting Brock Bowers the spot to work in. That's the most important thing. And with so many different elements that need to go right, the number one thing they got to do is get the line of scrimmage pushed back so you can get Ashton Jeanty to work. But you still got to get a side of that offensive line working right. So you got guard and tackle. It's a lot of needs that you got to have. But like I said, I haven't talked about the Raiders much since I made that show about why they could trade, and of course I was wrong. Nobody apparently came up and gave them the value that they wanted. So here we are. The New York Jets are on the clock after speculation that Fernando Mendoza might get traded. But here we are. The Jets are we're on the clock. They are officially, the pick is in, so they did not trade the pick. So it's going to be interesting to see. This is where the fun begins, guys. Because remember I told you, you've got a bunch of individuals that could go here. You've got David Bailey, Arvell Reese, Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Love, Sonny Styles. Seriously doubt Francis Mauigoa would go here, but it's possible. But there were a lot of talks that they canceled the visit with David Bailey, and there were talks that, hey, they'd already decided that's where they're going, was David Bailey. So we're going to be there in just a minute to see what is getting notifications that I already know about. Yeah, so definitely we know that the Jets pick is in, and it was not traded. And needless to say, this is a situation where I think the Jets should trade, but hey, who am I? A lot of people will say, you need to get, you got an opportunity to get some really good talent here, but I honestly think that you could make more by possibly trading back and then using that second pick, that whatever you were able to get out of it to make another selection. But here is Roger Goodell. He is about to make the announcement.
This draft is
With the second pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select David Bailey, linebacker, Texas Tech.
There we go. David Bailey. Well, I think the Jets were good to their word. 6'3", 251-yard David Bailey, looking suave and smooth with them shades on, hitting up our buddy Romello Height out of the Dublin GA. Hopefully Romello goes tonight. Give him and his family a big gab out. Hope he gets drafted tonight. Haven't really talked much about Romello. But yeah, he got invited to Pittsburgh and he's looking good over there. So give his dad a big gab out. And the Height family, hopefully, like I said, good things come. But as the Jets go, this is a guy who, along with Romello, were some dangerous pass rushers, and which was the cornerstone of that great defense that they had, along with Lee Hunter, the big defensive tackle that is garnering a lot of attention as well. As you see Bailey trying on his hat. And yeah, they get a monster pass rusher, which makes this an interesting move that they have to do now, because now with this 16th pick, where do they go from here? Because you need a wide receiver. Well, and running back's not on there, but I'm gonna be honest with you, they kind of do need a running back, because let's keep it in perspective. You've got Hall as a 1-year rental. Let's not get that twisted. You could take Jeremiah Love here. Now, I know what people are going to say. Well, what about the line? Because you need a guard. And, of course, you need quarterback, you need linebacker, and you need wide receiver. Now, here's what I would suggest. This is just me. Now, you do need a guard, which you can get a guard in the 3rd round or late 2nd. What you could do, given the fact that you have the 33rd and the 44th pick. A lot of people are going to be saying, go get Ty Simpson. I'm not necessarily on board with that. Now, a lot of people will say, am I crazy? And the reason why is because if you look at the Jets quarterback room, a lot of people will say, if you look at what they have at quarterback, you've got Geno Smith. And a lot of people say, well, look what he did in Vegas. Some of that had to do with the line. Some of that had to do with play calling. And some of that had to do with the fact that JSN is there. And you had some really good players for Geno that were getting open and this, that, and the other. And, of course, you had a really good run game that also solidified what they could do throwing the football. Which you didn't have that in Vegas. I mean, let's grant it. You know, if you could go and get, let's say you got Jeremiah Love. Let's say you went and got, let's say, let's see. Let's say you ended up getting Omar Cooper. Let's say you get Omar Cooper with that, that 16th pick. Let's say you get him with that 16th pick. Or better yet, let's say Jordan Tyson's there. You already got Garrett Wilson. To me, you need a big body receiver. This is no brainer. You need the Omar Cooper, or you need a Jordan Tyson, or you can wait and get Denzel Boston with the 33rd pick. And realistically, to me, the Jets are in a situation they're not going to win a lot of games this season. I apologize, but as we take a look at the Arizona Cardinals war room, they're clapping. The pick ain't in yet, but it looks like it is. So, looks like they're taking a player, probably to the no dissatisfaction to a lot of the, dissatisfaction to a lot of podcasters I've seen out there in the Arizona area. They really want them to trade down, get draft assets, and go with Maui Noah. I'm not saying you take a low end deal to get this pick, but they'll give up this pick. But realistically, the Cardinals need a lot. one of them being a quarterback, and honestly, they're not going to me, I don't think they have enough draft capital to say, hey, we need to do this. You need a tackle, you need a guard, you arguably need a running back, and you definitely need an edge. And the question I say is, do you go all out this season for your quarterback and instead of draft for resources next season? And what I mean by drafting for resources next year, if you can't get your guy, whether it's the edge guy, whether it's your tackle or your guard, just trade back. There's no need to reach, but realistically, in a draft like this, anything can happen. So far, it has gone 2 picks in, of course. It has gone pretty much how the experts have said, no surprises, and at the end, all it takes is somebody to jump in there. Now, keep in mind, the Jets still have 3 top 45 picks remaining. Dolphins have 2 first picks. You always got to keep the Cowboys in mind. Giants have 2 top 10 picks. So the further we go down this board, the more you're seeing that the Giants are just playing the board. And I said this on the show earlier, you guys. If the Giants are patient and the board falls to them, a lot of good things can happen. I get it. You probably have some guys that are your top, and they're probably going to go. But you just have to be patient and hope for the best. As the commissioner comes back with the Arizona Cardinals selection, and once again, it is going to be turned over to one Roger Goodell.
With the 3rd pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Jeremiah Love.
Oh!
So the Cardinals go.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I got a feeling Jacoby Brissett is going to be at practice in a couple days. I got a feeling that this brother is going to be at practice. Now that you arguably got one of the top end weapons, probably in the last 10 to 15 years. And of course, when you watch, I love the insignia that he does. You know, there's Coach Marcus Freeman, one of my favorite people, his coach. You guys know me, I'm an Irish guy. So happy that he allowed Marcus Freeman to be there. Gotta love that insignia. Gotta love it. Wish he was in my building, but, you know, love this kid. Absolutely love him. He's got such a great attitude. I just hope the Arizona Cardinals don't waste him. You know, you got Marvin Harrison Jr. over there, and as I said, one of my viewers said Jeremiah Love won't be at number 10. You're right. Yeah, no hate here. I mean, you called it. I didn't think that he would be one of those guys that they would be willing to take this high, but they did. And the only question I have with Arizona, with them having so many needs, the only hope I have with this is that they don't come back in there and take Ty Simpson. I say you go ahead and you try to fortify your line somehow, some way. And really, there aren't a lot of tackles in this draft that you can really scratch at on the lower levels, unless Arizona's going to figure some way to jump back in there and hope they can use another pick to jump in to the lower end of the second round. But they need to get this offensive line right. They needed a right tackle. So I'm going to be interested to see how Arizona Cardinal fans are reacting. And if any of y'all are in the comments, please jump in there. I would definitely love to see what you guys have to say, because realistically, it could be a gut-wrenching situation when you talk about what this team has done. Now, there's a lot of fans out there that are happy, but I'm seeing a lot of them around there that just kind of but I can understand. But the talent you're getting with Jeremiah Love, and I'm going to be honest with you, Cardinals fans, don't fret. You seeing some people that are just absolutely ecstatic that they took him. Jeremiah Loves High School. That's actually Jeremiah Loves High School in St. Louis, Missouri, going nuts like that. But I'm sure they would have felt better if a team closer had drafted him, the white, But I'm actually stonewalled by this pick because, for so many weeks we heard many podcasters saying that this is a guy that they absolutely love, but can't afford to have right now. I mean, it's kind of like the Raiders last season when they couldn't pave the way for a lot of, Ashton Jeanty. And hopefully, I'm hoping the Arizona Cardinals have a plan to set this up, that he can get his career off the ground without a hitch, and show a lot of love out there to Arizona. And Arizona, I hope y'all show him a lot of love because he is a really great young man. Got to watch him for 3 years in South Bend. As you all know, I'm a Notre Dame guy, so absolutely just an absolute class act, very professional, and just really fun to watch. Really is. And if you guys can get him some space, look out. And this guy catches the football bit just about as well as anybody in the receiving class. He runs the ball like a running back and catches the ball just as he's a top-end wide receiver. That is what makes him so special. And needless to say, when you start talking about this guy, he is just you have to hold your breath. So many coaches in college football say when he touches the ball, you just hold your breath. All you can do is go to that 98-yard touchdown run that he had against Indiana in the college football playoff, the very first game of the college football era. And Jeremiah Love is an Arizona Cardinal. As we look live at the draft room in Tennessee, as it appears that they have placed their pick and it is in. Another place that I just absolutely thought was a surprise. I was thinking somebody was gonna make a move somewhere, but you've got 3 of the elite guys off the board with, I would argue, 3 more. And believe it or not, there hasn't been one Ohio State Buckeye called yet. Gab out to my buddy Nate. What's up, buddy? As we're getting ready to hear where Tennessee is going with their pick. And like I said, realistically, these teams are on the clock as soon as these announcements are made. And while all of this is going on, they're getting the stage clear and so on and so forth. But here's Goodell with yet the Tennessee Titans selection.
With the 4th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Carnell Tate.
Wow. How's that to a start of Robert Saleh's coaching tenure at Tennessee, or in Nashville, so to say? He takes Carnell Tate with the 4th pick. This actually just got interesting, you guys, because I was not expecting, because edge rusher and linebacker were the 2 biggest needs, and you can argue running back. I heard many mocks that had the Titans taking Jeremiah Love in a lot of situations, but you had to do something to get a weapon for your quarterback, Cam Ward. Now, I was on the position that if I'm Tennessee, I'm actually going to take my 66 and 100 pick and go get a guy like you guys know what I'm going to say, Chris Brazel. This is a dude that, if he's not picked tonight, let's just get this out the way. If he's not picked tonight, he's going to pick high in that 2nd round, unless people are just snoozing. Which I would be upset because the Carolina Panthers could sneak in and get him. Wink, wink. But the one thing, he is a polished route runner, as many of the Ohio State receivers are. I honestly just think that this is a guy who's very small, in my opinion, for it, but he's 6'2", and Cam Ward needs a guy like this. He needs a guy like this, and I think this is just my idea. I think Carnell Tate was probably the second pick. I think Jeremiah Love was probably their top guy on the board. I thought he probably was going to be the guy that they wanted to select here. And it seemed like Carnell Tate was a guy that they pivoted towards after they found out that, Jeremiah Love was taken. And as of now, you see the New York Giants, a team that has given me a lot of love for my shows the last couple of weeks. Thank you so much, Giants fans. And when you really look at where this thing is going, that was the first surprise for me tonight. I figured with Saleh, he was going to want to go someone like Sonny Styles. And believe it or not, I didn't think Carnell Tate would be the first Buckeyes name that we would call. I really didn't. I thought Arvell Reese was by far going to be. And this is uncharted territory, people. We've got 2 elite defensive players on the board. And what's crazy is in past drafts, when you get this kind of talent, these are usually off the board, right off the rip. But we've got 3 offensive players and David Bailey with the first 4 picks. So, yeah, I like what Carnell Tate was able to do next to the freakish wide receiver that will probably be in battle to be the number 1 overall pick next year, Jeremiah Smith. Which is why I said it's really interesting to see what some of these teams do at the wide receiver position that need wide receivers. And let's keep it in perspective, you guys. There are these teams that are picking right here at the bottom that one player is not going to fix. The Giants, to me, who are picking next, is an interesting team. To me, the Giants were a team that were predominantly in most of their games. And it looks like they have made a selection. And yes, they have. They're shaking hands and whatnot. But to me, the Giants were like a team that really just needed a couple things to go right. Malik Neighbors goes down. Scatterboo goes down. You got, Jackson Dart in and out of the lineup all season. And realistically, when you sit and you really analyze where this team was trying to get, when you really stop and think where this team was trying to get last season, what's really hard to imagine is you got guys on that defense like Kayvon Thibodeau, you've got the Spider-Man Brian Burns, and not to mention Carter, last year's their first round pick last season. You've got all this speed, and there's even rumors that Kayvon Thibodeau could be traded or a cap casualty. That's one thing. We haven't seen any trades of any nature, whether it's picks, players, you name it. But when you really start to look at where the Giants are, they've got a good, strong foundation on the defensive side of the ball. The problem they have now is trying to get that offense in check, whether it was trying to get Russell Wilson in check, whether it was trying to get just the quarterback position as a whole. Malik Neighbors, in my opinion, like I said, he's been pretty much everything that they've wanted out of him, and you can't be any happier for what you've gotten out of him. But it's time to add another piece to that offense, because Jackson Dart proved a lot of people that he was worthy of a first-round pick and was as good as advertised, and Mel Kiper Jr. called it. So, and even Tyler Shough, a lot of guys, and even I said this on my show, that I thought Tyler Shough was underrated in this draft, and he ends up being the Saints' savior as a third-round pick. So, Kellen Moore did a great job there, but this ain't about Kellen Moore. This is about the Giants. But needless to say, with this pick being in, it would not shock me if we look up and they've taken Sonny Styles. Because realistically, you've got your pass rushers up front. And I said it on my show, you guys. If Sonny Styles is there, you got to run this card up here. Now, a lot of people would say that's Caleb Downs you do it with. I think you don't have to work. I really don't think there are going to be a lot of teams that... Now, do I think the Cincinnati Bengals would give up their first-round pick next season for it? Who knows? I mean, I don't think they're as nutso as the... I don't think they're as nutso as one Jerry Jones, but it would be interesting to see what what team comes up and decides they're going to make a move for this Sonny Styles, or even one Arvell Reese. But it's going to be an interesting pick nonetheless. As Roger Goodell walks out with a entourage this time to announce the Giants selection. It's going to be interesting. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Arvell. It's probably going to be Sonny Styles. I'm almost willing to bet.
In partnership with the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, TAPS, one of the NFL's Salute to Service partners, we are honored to recognize the surviving family of United States Army Major Paul C. Volke. Major Volke sustained tragic fatal injuries while deployed in Afghanistan. He is survived by his spouse Tracy and their two sons Andrew and Benjamin. Major Volke was raised in the Hudson Valley and was a lifelong fan of the New York Giants, a tradition he proudly passed on to his sons. Volke family, take it away.
With the 5th overall pick of the 2026 NFL Draft, the New York Football Giants select Arvell Reese, linebacker from the Ohio State University.
All right. I'm a little bit confused about this one. Now, unless they're going to play or deploy Arvell Reese as a hybrid linebacker and not a pure edge like so many people have deemed him since, I would say about March. Because these guys got a ton of edge guys. They got a ton. I'm kind of confused here with that one, because to me, Sonny Styles is more of a natural three style linebacker, or a 3-position linebacker. He can play all 3 positions, the weak, the Mike, and the strong side linebacker. So I'm kind of wondering here about what the plan is with him. I would have thought you would have gone more Sonny Styles, or maybe Caleb Downs, because you still got the 10th pick. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know. I'm kind of baffled at this one. Okay. We got a deal. As the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, people. Hold on. Y'all. I ain't Adam Schefter, but I'm getting there. The Chiefs have acquired the number 6 overall pick from the Cleveland Browns for the number 9 3rd rounder and a 5th rounder. Okay, Cleveland. Not sure I'm big on that one. Don't think I would have. Not sure I would have expected that one. Yeah. That one has kind of confused me a little bit. So, yeah, you trade 3 spots, and I would figure you would get more of an incentive than that, so. Let us see what happens here. Because I'm not a huge fan of the trade. I certainly am not. I know what a lot of people are going to say. You got the 74th pick, okay. And I guess what you can establish with this pick, now that the Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock, but they're going to try to fortify this line. That's what I'm searching, and probably I hope the Browns. Gosh, Cleveland fans, I sure hope that they're not going for a quarterback quarterback Ty Simpson. I hope not. At some point, you got one of these guys, whether it's going to be Watson, whether it's going to be Sanders, that is going to come out and be a player. But you got to get the right tools around him. First, you got to retool that line. And I hope that's what you do. You traded back, and that's a smart move, in my opinion. I knew we were going to get a trade eventually. The question is, who was going to take the bait? And for Cowboy fans, guess what? Y'all saved Jerry from himself. Well, excuse me, y'all didn't. The Arizona Cardinals saved Jerry from himself. Now you got to see him every week. Well, at least once a year. I keep thinking about the old NFC East when the Cardinals were in the division, but of course they don't have. They don't have to anymore. But as it's showing up on the air now, the Kansas City Chiefs have traded their 9th overall pick, 3rd pick, 5th pick for the 6th overall pick, and it's rather interesting because there's no way, in my opinion, I'm trading. I would have traded would have had to take a 2nd round pick because there are some. I'm actually getting a predictor that they're saying Mansour Delane is going to be the pick. I don't know. I think with the Chiefs needing edge, cornerback, tackle, and tight end, wide receiver as well. You've got a guy like Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles there, and I get it. There are some good wide receivers. There's only really 2 elite wide corners in this draft, but the cornerback class is really deep. But here we go. The commissioner is back again. It seems like the time is flying on a couple of these selections. Here we go.
With the 6th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Mansour Delane, defensive back.
Well, the predictor was right again. Mansour Delane, the unanimous All-American, and yeah. We've had some interesting picks in this draft. All but 2 players. Well, excuse me, it's been even. It's 3-3. Defense, offense, as far as the picks go. And if the predictor is anything like it says, the next pick is going to be the Washington Commanders, and it's got them predicted to take a certain wideout. Which one, you ask? Well, guess what? If you watched my show earlier, it's the guy that I thought was going to be the first wide receiver, possibly, off the board. But as we continuously look, this has been absolutely somewhat of a surprise the last couple of picks. I mean, realistically, when we sit and we look at how this draft has really gone on and how it's really started to, develop. And like I said, all drafts have a mind of their own, or they have a life of their own. So the truth is, when you look at what Kansas City gets in Delane after they've had their secondaries gutted the last couple of years. So when you look at what the Kansas City Chiefs have had to deal with and had to work with, basically their room has got Kaiir Elam, Melvin Smith, and Noah Williams. Their 2-star secondary guys are no more. They're gone. I mean, those days of the Kansas City secondary. You got guys like Trent McDuffie that are no longer there. When you get guys like Mahomes that you have to, and Mahomes and Chris Jones that you have to compensate, it basically, you have to let some guys walk, and unfortunately, those were one of those guys that they had to let go. But fortunately, they were able to get this, recover some of some of what they were able to with Mansour Delane, who is, like I said, a consensus All-American. And yeah. Yeah. But as I said, this is a huge step in the right direction for the Chiefs, a team that is trying to find its way back into the playoffs after the injury to Patrick Mahomes, and trying to find some traction on that defense as well as that offense, which pretty much, whether people want to admit it or not, carried them. Because really, Mahomes has had to do it mostly with a bunch of substitutes and Travis Kelce at the receiver position. Now, Rashee Rice has been a pleasant surprise, but it would not surprise me if they went out and got him a speed demon at the end of all this. Now, this time, Roger Goodell's coming out to announce the Washington Commanders selection with looks like Jerome Bettis and someone, I can't tell who that is. Knucklehead.
The Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award, presented by Nationwide, is awarded to one player each year and celebrates their profound impact on and off the field. I'm joined on stage by former winners Lynn Swann and Jerome Bettis.
That's Lynn Swann? Don't look like Lynn Swann.
And the league welcomed its newest member to the prestigious club 2 months ago, Super Bowl champion and 6-time All-Pro Bobby Wagner. Way to go, Bobby. On behalf of the Payton family and Nationwide, I encourage players drafted this week to make their community and the league a better place. You want to go for it? You want to... With the 7th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select Sonny Styles, linebacker, Ohio State.
And here we thought that they were going to go playmaker. Well, that partially does not surprise me as you hear All-American Sonny Styles, first team All-American in 2025. I'm really not surprised, but I am a little bit wavered a little bit because I did not anticipate that. I thought for sure Washington, on what was on Washington's mind, was a playmaker. Now maybe Jeremiah Love was the guy or Cornell Tate was the guy, but I felt certain this was going to be the guy. But what Sonny Styles brings to this Washington Commanders defense is something that is absolutely paramount to this this defense, and that is a playmaker and a guy that can get to the football. And realistically, when you start looking at what this defense was unable to do last year, which was make big stops, and this kind of puts in perspective. I'm gonna be honest with you. If the Giants come out of this with the 10th pick and have Caleb Downs on the field, on the board, all I can do is exhale. Because I'm going to be honest with you. You got to be thinking, what were you thinking? Because you could have gotten two of the absolute best position players that could have quarterbacked your defense, Harbaugh. You could have had your Ed Reed and your Ray Lewis all in one. Something to think about. I don't just make up stuff. I know a lot of people would think so, but here we are now with the New Orleans Saints on the clock. But back to the Sonny Styles selection. Now you got the guy, and I said this on my show, Sonny Styles is going to be gone before Caleb Downs. I made that a point. Because, look, as good as Caleb Downs could arguably have the highest IQ of any player in this draft, football-wise. But safeties aren't valued. They're not a valued piece. I'm sorry to say that. I hate to say that position. This is why Nick Emenrory was just absolutely dead wrong. I mean, there ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was dead wrong. And the truth is, this is a guy that can really change a defense. And then you would have paired him with Caleb Downs. That might have been the first stub of the night, you guys. Arvell Reese instead of Sonny Styles. Unless they plan on putting Arvell Reese in kind of that Jalen Walker position, because it was kind of premature for the league to call him an edge rusher. And he's what you would call very raw. Because let's keep it in perspective. They got to know something. This has got to be a situation where they know something. They knew that he wanted to play. There's got to be a situation where they know that, okay, he would rather play that weak side linebacker on the blitz and so on and so forth. And if that's the case, great. Great for the Giants. But I see Sonny Styles as that dude. And now the Reds, blah, blah. The Commanders have him. The Commanders now have a captain of this defense to go at guys like Frankie Louvu. And he is fast. You can basically, in a nutshell, let Frankie Louvu run all over the field. Oh, yeah. You can let him run like a crazed maniac to the quarterback. And maybe that's what they wanted. That's probably what they wanted. And honestly, this is an absolute... It's almost like... Sorry, you guys, I was checking something out. It's kind of like if you're the Commanders, you have a situation now in D.C. where, now this is just my perspective on it, you guys. I believe that the amount of picks that they had, which is this was a crucial one for the Commanders. Many of you guys don't know the Commanders only have one pick between now and number 71. 71. This is it. They've got to select carefully, and then after the 71st pick, they don't have another pick until 147. So, to me, this was a situation where you have to roll the dice and say, okay. Now, I would say this: do I think if Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles were not on the board, would they have traded back? I would have, because I didn't value Tate as much as Mel Kiper Jr. did. I didn't think Carnell Tate was that good. I thought Jeremiah Love, Fernando Mendoza, Sonny Styles, and maybe Arvell Reese were good enough because they needed to me, wide receiver, it's got wide receiver, center, and safety were the most important positions that they needed. Now, the thing with Sonny Styles is, are they going to use him as a primary edge guy? Now, what you can do with him is on a lot of pass downs, you can send him on blitzes. And it would not shock me to see this football team send him at least, let's say they blitz 30% of the time, it would not surprise me to see him blitzed on at least 50 to 60% of those blitzes. Because of the type of athlete he is and how sure a tackler he is. Now, you got Frankie Louvu there. Styles is one of his specialties is coverage, which is what made him such a special prospect in the first place. Was his specialty is, coverage. So, it's going to be interesting to see how they deploy him. But now we've got the New Orleans Saints. And what's really interesting, they need an edge guy, wide receiver, corner, guard, tight end. Really, if you're a Saints fan, you're in a middle zone here. You need an edge and a wide receiver. Now, if you want to take the best edge guy left in this thing, it's Ruben Bain. And you could wait and you could actually trade down. Now, I think, to me, Ruben Bain for a Saints team that is absolutely just playing out of its mind at the end of the season, I would say possibly take a guy like Ruben Bain, because that defensive line is getting up in age. I mean, you could either trade, but you don't. You take the pick. And here's the commissioner walking back out again. So the Saints took their selection and have surprised me so far.
With the 8th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Jordan Tyson, wide receiver, Arizona State.
Wow. Wow. Talk about getting your young quarterback some help. So now the New Orleans Saints have arguably a duo. And as a Carolina Panther fan, I'm not happy about it. But congratulations, as now you've got Jordan Tyson to go with Chris Olave. As Tyson arguably goes 6'2", 200 pounds, and yeah, he's arguably one of the big question marks in this year's draft because of those injury woes that we were talking about. And as I said on the pre-show, when you look at Jordan Tyson, his injuries were the only thing that jumped out at you, other than the fact that he didn't run a 40. But this is a guy who checks all the boxes when you talk about an X receiver or a boundary receiver. He's got the big physical presence. He's able to go up and get the balls, and he's got really quick feet for a guy in and out of his breaks. And he deceptively gets behind guys. If you watch his film, there's times when he just slips behind guys. And I know a lot of times people will say some of that's predicated on the talent pool. I mean, I won't argue that point. But you know, I like to see that. I like to see that. A guy taking a knee and giving honor to the Almighty. Thank you so much, Father. I got to do that myself, giving praise and honor to the Lord. You know, this is what you like to see, guys who are grateful and appreciative for the opportunity, you know, like myself. You know, you guys have been showing up and showing out, and I'm so grateful for you guys showing up on my show. Feel free to comment, guys. I mean, I don't have any issue with you guys commenting. I encourage that. I want you guys to comment. You know, interact with Mr. CeeLo. Let me know what's up. Like I said, another big gab out to my man Bruce over at The Format. And like I said, guys, when we get to a place where you guys are all over the place, I will start accepting calls. I definitely want to hear what you guys are thinking, what you guys have in place. But yeah, I didn't know Jalen Tyson was his brother. Plays for the Cleveland Cavaliers as a forward. So, for any of you guys that did not know. But, throughout those fireworks, right now, let's see. Let me go ahead and tell you guys. The New Orleans Saints had 2 picks on PSFM. And it would have been the Eagles at 23, 54, and 68 picks in the trade, and the 15th, 46th, and 155th pick from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which would have worked out well, in my opinion. I thought that was the best deal in itself. I mean, you get the 15th pick, but you don't end up getting a guy like Jordan Tyson. But I don't think you need that. That's what you got Olave for. I really don't think you needed a superstar wide receiver to really facilitate their offense. Tyler Shough has proven that he is one of those gems that the NFL just absolutely missed out on. Yes, I'm showing the diamond cutter, you guys. Well, actually, it's diamond and that's the cutter. So, send back to WCW when it was the bomb. Well, no longer exists, but WWE, whatever you want to, whichever your flavor was. But I'd love to see those tears from, a humble young kid who's appreciative of his opportunity in Jordan Tyson. It's really awesome to see that. Like I said, the pick for the Cleveland Browns is in. They did not trade it. Was kind of concerned about that, as Todd Monken has his first go as head coach of the Cleveland Browns as his regime begins. Want to take this moment to thank you guys so much for joining us, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the show if you are enjoying the content. You guys are the reason why I do what I do. I love having these conversations. And as I said, it is a lot of fun, and I definitely appreciate all the love you guys are giving. But as we wait for Roger Goodell to walk to the podium and let us know who the Cleveland Browns have selected.
In the 2026 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Spencer Fano, tackle, Utah.
Spencer Fano. Okay. All right, Spencer Fano, the tackle out of Utah, ladies and gentlemen, the tackle out of Utah. I know. Don't do that again. I know. Spencer Fano, you guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. I like him. I think the only issue I have with Fano is I think I heard them say he needs he needs to refine his pass blocking a little bit. And realistically, that's a big deal considering you got, you got quarterbacks that you need to protect. And I'll be honest with you, that's not something you want to hear if you're a new quarterback. You want to be able to know that you got somebody that can protect your backside. And already the Giants have their pick in. This could be interesting. Did they do exactly what I said? Caleb Downs is on the board and they just rushed that in? I predicted this, you guys.
With the 10th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Francis Mauigoa, tackle, Miami.
So this is to protect.
Whoa. Now, one Mel Kiper Jr. did mention this, that he did say that they could possibly take Maui Noah. I didn't expect him to be here. I'll phrase it. I thought for sure the Cardinals were going to figure out some way to back out of this and then get him possibly at 7, 8, or 9. Little did I know. So that's probably one of the first kicks now. And now you've got the guy that is probably going to be that guy that's going to be your pave the way type of guy for that New York Giants offense. I didn't even get a chance to really talk about what the Saints did, and even with the, I didn't get a chance to talk about what the Browns did. So, I mean, it's kind of shocking when you think about it. But, as I said, you guys, this is what the NFL draft is all about. This is what it's all about, people. This is what it's all about, people. This is what it's all about. I didn't even get to talk about the Cleveland Browns final. And as soon as it happened, Maui know it. Now, here we go. The Cowboys have moved up. The Cowboys have made a trade, people. And we knew it wasn't going to be much longer. The Cowboys had to jump up there, I guess, assuming that one of their nemesis was attempting to move. I'm pretty sure I know what this would do. Especially with Maui Noah off the board now. And definitely needing some serious leadership on that team to boot as they have moved up. The question is, what kind of compensation did they have to give up for that pick? Yeah. And right off the bat, the Tennessee Titans, I have a trade here in the simulator. But looking here, you got Ruben Bain and Caleb Downs and Jermod McCoy. This is going to be interesting because, you know, cornerback is a massive need for the Cowboys. But the pick now, the trade went down was, looks like a 12th and a 3rd, excuse me, you guys, and a 5th round pick to move up one spot. And the pick is in. There's Jerry Jr. That's what I call him, Jerry Jr. The pick's got to be either Ruben Bain or Caleb Downs. It's that simple. I mean, there's no reason why, if you're a Cowboys fan that, or even an individual that is in the Cowboys organization, that you don't see these two guys and how valuable Michael Parsons was to that defense the previous year. Now, Jerry Jones can say what he wants about Michael Parsons when it came to run defense. The biggest issue you got now is you can't stop nothing. You got an offense that could rack up points like a cash register. And then with Jerry Jr. coming out there talking that nonsense about George Pickens we're not going to extend him long term. Couldn't you just keep that quiet? You already know what kind of head case Pickens is. I'm sorry, no disrespect. But Pickens is a head case for show. And to basically, in a nutshell, tell to the world, I'm not giving you a long-term deal. You basically playing with fire, in my point of view. Because I'm not fixing to have that kind of problem for the whole season. Now, I will say this. I was talking to my son. We had a really good discussion, and I was talking to a coworker. Now, you guys remember when Amari Cooper got his deal, and then CeeDee Lamb got his deal. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen, people. Don't you Cowboy fans get yourselves up in arms about what I'm about to say. But you got to be realistic. You got to be thinking, could the Cowboys be thinking about dealing CeeDee Lamb? It's not an impossibility, because when you look at the way this roster is shaped up, let's look at it from the standpoint of age, people. CeeDee Lamb is 27 years old. Okay? I don't recall how old Cooper was, but he wasn't much older than CeeDee Lamb was now. Than CeeDee Lamb is now. So, it's not an impossibility that the Cowboys don't deal him. Now, granted, there's going to be a lot of guaranteed money locked up into this, but the Cowboys, look. I will say that I think that this would be a situation where where when you look at what the Cowboys have to do to get under the salary cap and this, that, and the other, it's a possibility that they stay here and figure out some other way with Pickens. But I think maybe the Joneses have figured out they basically figured out, look, we can't keep investing money like that. I remember Jones said something about that in his press conference. So it's a huge possibility that this could be it for George Pickens. But Dallas's pick is in, you guys, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know what to expect. I mean, because right now it's possible it could be Caleb Downs. It's possible it could be the big guy, Ruben Bain.
Here tonight.
With the 11th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Caleb Downs, defensive back, Ohio State.
Well, Jeremiah Love ain't the only sexy pick that Jerry likes. Yeah, as Caleb Downs is one of those picks as well. So, looking here at Caleb Downs as arguably one of the most talented safeties to ever come out. I'll say it like this: one of the more talented safeties that was recognized. Because like I told you guys last year, I thought Nick Eamon-Rory was just absolutely one of the best safety prospects since Kyle Hamilton. But as I said, you've seen there's his big teammate. Looks like Caden McDonald, a guy who's expected to go here tonight. But yeah, he goes from wearing just plain Buckeye silver to the silver with the Dallas Cowboy star. Just add the star and that's what you get. Had a lot of Buckeyes on that helmet, but now he plays for the star. Yeah. So, when you look at what this team has, and as I said, I thought I've suggested in my shows that the Cowboys needed to trade down. And of course, or trade up or trade down, one of the two. Well, they're not the only ones that are staying put. I'm actually shocked that the Dolphins are staying put. I'm actually very shocked that they're staying put. But let us talk about arguably the best defensive player or the smartest defensive player in this draft. I think he's the smartest. We've seen him make big plays not only against inferior teams, but we've seen him make great plays against elite teams, like in the college football playoff matchup against the Texas Longhorns, and he made some great plays in the backfield against Notre Dame in the national championship. These are plays that they're showing as we're preparing to hear what the Dolphins do. But one thing that struck me about Caleb Downs is he is an all-around safety. He's a great coverage guy. The ball seems to find him in certain spots. He's very aware, and he's just an exceptional tackler. And probably the one weakness you could say is probably one-on-one coverage. And that's not a deep weakness either. He's actually very good in coverage as well. So, while some people would say he's got that as a weakness, it's just not as, elite as you would, want it to be. But he's still an excellent coverage guy. He's just not elite. But that's saying a lot. A guy who is a jack of all trades. He is a much more dynamic Swiss Army knife type player. And that's where you need a safety to be now to be drafted this high. He's got to be able to do a multitude of things. He's got to be able to move him around. He's got to be able to cover. He's got to be able to blitz. To me, that's what made Sonny Styles different. And then you've got Arvell Reese, in my opinion, whom is a guy who's a much better pass rusher than his counterpart, Sonny Styles. But it's going to be interesting to see where what New York chooses to do with him, with Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Abdul Carter. It's going to be interesting. Are they going to continue to do that crazy speed rush type deal that they've been doing? I don't know. But now we turn our attention to the Dolphins, whom, in my opinion, is getting some crazy trade offers with Ruben Bain on the helm. Now you've got Makai Lemon, Ruben Bain, and Jermod McCoy. 3 guys that this team could absolutely use. To me, it's almost all about Makai Lemon here because you need a wideout.
With the 12th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Caden Proctor, tackle, Alabama.
Well, there's a surprise for you. Caden Proctor, tackle out of Alabama. Probably one of the more intriguing prospects at the tackle position because the guy I think he scored a touchdown for Alabama. He's exceptionally skilled, and he's very big and strong and powerful. I was not expecting him to go this high. I really was not. 6'6", 352 pounds, and he was up over 370 at one point, I recall. And not sure why the Dolphins reached like that. Not real sure what that was about. I mean, he's a talented tackle, no doubt. But when you got a guy like Ruben Bain on the board, and really when you start to really look at what the Dolphins have, and you really have to start to wonder, what was the motivation here? I mean, realistically, you could have done a lot more with the wide receiver position. Now, my thing is, are you setting Malik Willis up for failure? Because I don't care how good your offensive line is, you don't have guys that can get open, or you can't scheme these guys open. I mean, look, you got Tutu Atwell. Now, Terrace Marshall's an interesting prospect, you guys. I mean, Malik Willis is one of those guys, he likes to throw it deep. If they can get on the same page, listen, he could prove all of the fans in Charlotte incorrect. Because I always said Terrace Marshall was a guy who never got a shot, and he was a good player. But they're going to need another guy. They're definitely going to need another guy. It would not surprise me if the Dolphins actually went out, get this line fortified, get it to a place. Maybe that's what they're doing. I'm hoping that's what they're doing, because there aren't a lot of pickings with with receivers out here. And already the Los Angeles Rams have their pick in. This ought to be interesting. I'm almost certain that the guy whom they're going to be selecting is probably going to be Makai Lemon. It would shock me if it was Ruben Bain. But I would absolutely be shocked if it was anyone other than one Makai Lemon, because Davante Adams is going to be going bye-byes after next season, more likely. And of course, you've got Gerard McCoy up there. And yeah, this has got to be Makai Lemon, because you really don't need a corner, and you could take Monroe Freely. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising if they took him, but you've got Makai Lemon on the board, and you already know what the deal is with Davante Adams. So to me, this is a no-brainer. I think you really could argue this is a selection that's more or less going to go the way of Makai Lemon. I think this is where he gets selected, and sorry about that, guys. But looking back at what we were able to see and view earlier I didn't get a chance to talk about the Caden Proctor pick as much, but hold on, you guys. No, if the Dolphins are doing what I think they're doing, they're going to build this offensive line from the inside out, then great. But honestly, they're going to have to make some decisions, because when you look at the way this team has not been able to get playmakers on the outside, that's going to be a problem. You can't just leave Malik Willis out there to fend for himself. He's got to have some talent. He's got to have some players. Now, I did say in one of my shows it was going to be very tough sledding for the Miami Dolphins to get a lot done, given that they have so much that they have to get. And like I said, they're showing Ruben Bain in the green room. Looks like he's steady looking at that phone. I can't say I blame him on that one. But looking at what we just saw, I'm almost certain that they're going to take Mekhi Lemon-Monroe-Freeling. But who's to say what's going to happen? The Rams have the 61st pick, and then, you know, I would say this. If the Rams take Ruben Bain, good luck trying to do something against that defense. But smart money would say it's on Mekhi Lemon. I mean, unless the Rams have some kind of plan at number 61. You know, I don't see a whole bunch of big game players that could take Davante Adams' spot once he's gone, except maybe a guy like Mekhi Lemon. Yeah, so, you know, realistically, I'm not sure what's going to happen here. I do think it's Mekhi Lemon. You know, I've seen stranger things happen. Because Ruben Bain's sitting there on his phone playing around. Now, he ain't talking on it. But it'd be surprising that somebody didn't want to come up and snatch him. You know, you got the Ravens really need a real opposite guy to Trey Hendrickson, who's not guaranteed to be there very long, and he had some injury issues. You've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that needs serious help at edge. You would think they would come up and trade, or maybe they're just sitting there calm and cool, collected, thinking that nobody was gonna come up, and they didn't. But it would shock me if Ruben Bain was the selection for Chargers. Now, I can almost bet you if Ruben Bain doesn't get snatched up here, the Ravens will be on the phone. They will be on the phone trying to make to swap this one, but it won't be that far back. It'll be more or less with the Buccaneers, so they don't lose their opportunity to get Vega. But like I said, the pick for the Rams is in, and now we got the commissioner walking up. Watch me be wrong again.
No pressure to play. Amazing.
With the 13th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Ty Simpson.
You got to be kidding me. Do you guys remember what I said? Do you guys remember what I said earlier on the pre-show about about the Jets, Cardinals, leaving Ty Simpson alone and just allowing him to grow and develop in a team like the Rams or the Steelers? Remember I said that, you guys? Well, all I can say is Jet fans, Cardinal fans, and And there was somebody else that was looking for a quarterback. Browns fans, you can thank the Rams because now they stopped your organizations from making a dumb decision. Y'all go ahead and send them fan mail because I'm gonna be honest with you. That's warranted. I'm just gonna be honest with you. That was warranted because they saved a lot of teams. The Rams did a lot of teams a favor. Because now all Ty Simpson's got to do, he ain't got to do nothing except study behind Matt Stafford. So, and study with Sean McVay to get him to where he wants him to be. So, now Sean McVay has officially got the heir apparent to Matt Stafford, and he doesn't have to give up a bunch of rounders for what he wants. Now, he could still snatch his number 2 in the next round because the way the Rams actually have it, y'all give me a second, my system froze up. They can actually... Come on, catch up. Catch up. And no, I'm not talking about the ketchup that goes on your fries. They can actually take, with the 61st pick, somebody in that wide receiver room if he's still available. Someone like Jeremy Bernard, Ted Hirsch, Skylar Bell is an interesting prospect. The 6 foot, 192 pound prospect out of UConn in the Bronx, who ran a 4.4. And yeah, this guy would be dangerously good combination to go with Puka Nacua. So yeah, the sky's the limit for this this Rams team as far as they're trying to rebuild, and I'm not happy about it because this is the team that ends up with a top 15 pick. Thank you, Atlanta. For all my Atlanta Falcon fans watching, thank you. So Ty Simpson gets to study behind Matt Stafford 1, maybe 2 more years. I guess he called Matt and asked him, how many years you gonna be? How many more years you gonna hang? So more likely it's possibly something along the realms of maybe this year or next year. Because you get that 5th year option with Ty Simpson, and there you go. I would suspect this would probably be it. This would probably be the last go-round for Matt Stafford. He's done a lot of good things, and yeah, all you can say is that, you know, the Rams have had a good run with Matt Stafford, dating all the way back to that Super Bowl run that they had. And now as we wait on, the Ravens pick is in, but the suspense, the Ty Simpson suspense has gone bye-bye. So, needless to say, there is no doubt that the Jets, Cardinals, and Browns will not be selecting Ty Simpson now. So, good for him. He gets to, spend about a season or 2 behind Matt Stafford, and then he gets to study from one of the best coaches on one of the best offensive minds in the game. So, just getting a lot of stuff in, you guys. And here's the pick.
I don't know this is as much for the commission.
With the 14th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Olai Mavenga, Yowane, guard, Penn State.
Olavaega Ione, Try saying that real fast. Oliver Vega Ione. Yeah, I ravaged it. I don't care what y'all say. This guy I absolutely love, and you would think a guy who I love a lot, I could say his name. 6'4", 320 pounds, absolutely is a freight train. Absolutely a freight train. And we talked about it early in the broadcast, you guys, that this is what they wanted to do. Ultimately, this is where the Ravens wanted to go. Fortify that offensive line, get some movement up on that front, and that's what they're doing. You know, Ione is one of those guys that's a lot like Francis Mauigoa. He gets going forward, and he just starts moving everything out of the way. And that's what you need with a guy like Derek Henry. You need a guy that can actually go out there and just absolutely move the line of scrimmage. And when you lose a guy like Tyler Linderbaum, you have to take another guy that can do that. And now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock, not very long, they've already put their pick in. But of course, there's got to be bills that's got to be paid. At least not on this channel yet. But guys, I must tell you, this has been very different than what I've seen. Very different than what I've seen. You know, the last couple of years, these drafts have not gone exactly the way you would think. And realistically, this is one of the... There's been some surprises, nonetheless. There's been some surprises, not to, rain on anybody's parade or anything, but we've really only reached the halfway mark. And there's been some surprises, like Caden Proctor is a guy that absolutely surprised me where he was going. I thought that Ty Simpson would go. Well, let me phrase it. I thought Ty Simpson was a better fit. If I were a GM, like let's say the Jets, Browns, or the Cardinals, I'm not even getting this guy I'm not even going to get this guy in the early second round, especially if I'm the Cardinals. That's all I got. I can't afford to invest a pick that high on a guy who had a stellar first part of the season, or stellar 3/4 of the season, and then the very tail end he ran out of gas to the point that they squeaked in the college football playoff, and then they get one win, which he looked almost like his old self, and then they get absolutely boat raced in the quarterfinals. So yeah, I mean, to me that was one of the surprises early. I just don't, I'm almost certain I know who Tampa Bay's getting. Because I honestly thought that Hakeem Metzador was going to be the pick. Because he was the guy that was above age. That was the guy that the Buccaneers are ready to win now. They want to win now. And I thought for sure he was going to be, Ruben Bain was going to be gone. And right now, Ruben Bain's the guy that I'm sitting here looking at saying, I didn't think he was going to fall. I don't know. Maybe the situation that came out about that accident that took place a couple of years ago, and I didn't want to have to bring that up, but it's possible it could have raised some concerns for teams. I don't know. I just know that this guy is a talented individual, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm looking at the mock, and I'm seeing the Jets put in a proposal for a trade, and I saw the Dolphins put in a proposal for a trade. The two teams that really needed a pass rusher more than the Bucs did, and I'm wondering if this guy was the number one guy on their board, or he was their wish list guy. It's almost like you could possibly say, okay, if this guy's here, we just have to get this guy. I'm actually a little surprised considering that they lost Mike Evans and their running back White. They lost Logan Hall and Devontae David, the great linebacker for many years, as well as cornerback Jamal Dean. You would have thought Jermod McCoy might have been the selection here, but who's to say? I just don't think you pass on Ruben Bain unless that whole incident with the accident that took place years ago was, a major issue. Who's to say? I mean, I don't know. I mean, all I know is that the pick is in, and we're waiting on Commissioner Roger Goodell to come back and let us know. But I'm honestly confident that it's going to be Ruben Bain. Now, the last couple of picks before, of course, Ty Simpson and Caden Proctor were shocks. And Vega Iani was pretty easy. I called it from the get-go. I didn't see any place else that would have went. So, yeah. I'm of the belief that Ruben Bain's going to be the selection with Jeremiah McCoy being runner-up. So, as the commissioner walks out, guys, y'all let me know what you think. Son, if you out there, I can't tell you to do that because you don't have your YouTube channel up yet. But I love you guys.
With the 15th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Ruben Bain Jr., linebacker, Miami.
There you go. There you go. I told you guys. There it is, Ruben Bain. Now I got to deal with this guy when he was at. I had to deal with this guy when he was in Miami. Now I got to deal with him when he's in Tampa. So he stays put in Florida, you guys. Oh, good grief. In the words of the old school Charlie Brown, oh, good grief. So, the big deal on him is his violent hands or his aggressive hands. I hate using the word violent. Very aggressive. He's one of those guys, he punches and punches with a vengeance. And realistically, when you really start watching his tape, he'll disappear at times. But it's almost like he's one of those guys that you almost hate to get behind against. And when I say get behind, I'm referring to a team that falls behind. You don't want to be a team that has to play from behind against the defense that's got a guy like this. Because when he knows he can pin his ears back, good luck. He has a power arsenal that will deceive you. And he's got quickness that you just don't really think for a guy his size. He's absolutely a monster of a player. Yeah, 6'3", 275 pounds, and he'll be 22 years of age when the season starts. So you talking about a guy who, like I said, he's got borderline Myles Garrett size. And now this bodes good news for the Miami Dolphins because these defensive ends are not just coming off the board. Now, see, I know a lot of people are saying, why are you concerned with the Miami Dolphins? I'm actually looking at the Miami Dolphins, Seattle Seahawks, and the Patriots because these are teams that need edge players. And honestly, yes, tackle players, the offensive tackle and defensive edge players are at a premium. I mean, you get past the first round, these first 3 or 4 guys, there ain't that many guys that actually scare you or put a lot of fear of a fire under you as a tackle. And he's that guy. And you really have to analyze where these teams are selecting. Like I've told you guys in every show I've done for this draft, every draft has its own personality. And see, now this one is showing its personality as no position has been picked consecutively. And, and I mean, when you look at Maui Noah, well, actually it was consecutive. It was Spencer Fano and Francis Maui Noah, and then you had Caden Proctor. So, my mistake there. The Jets pick is in. Now, let's go back and revisit. The Jets took David Bailey. Could Makai Lemon be the pick here? Could it be Makai Lemon? I mean, you've already went and taken David Bailey. You need a guard, you need a linebacker, and you need... Your quarterback's gone. I'm almost certain this is going to be Mekhi Lemon. I'm almost 100% certain it's going to be Mekhi Lemon. I think ultimately when you pair him with Garrett Wilson, I still think it needs to be a bigger guy, but hey. The Jets picked him. You have my blessing, Jet fans. Because hopefully, yeah. The Jets organization has been known to hurt you guys' feelings a lot. But here's the commish.
With the 16th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Kenyon Sadiq,
There you go, John.
tight end, Oregon.
So they're going 2 tight ends here.
Kenyon Sadiq. Kenyon Sadiq. Now, as a Carolina Panther fan, thank you, Jets fans. Thank you. Now, this actually surprised me because he is explosive, and the only thing about it is that size. That size bothers me. That 6'3.5". I mean, you know, he's gonna be smaller than guys like T-Mac and so on and so forth, but he's very physical and he's very fast, to say the least. That vertical speed is absolutely imperative. And see, you give Geno Smith, I don't want to say the same thing he had in Vegas, but hopefully he's better coached there. Because, I mean, well, you can also say Brock Bowers was also in and out of the lineup. So you could argue that a lot of his issue last year, him being Geno Smith, was the offense was inconsistent, and a lot of it started with the fact that they could not unlock Ashton Genty. And maybe, just maybe, that's going to be a situation where they're able to do some different things and possibly do some better things and get guys like Garrett Wilson involved. That's another thing. Geno is now going to have a guy like Garrett Wilson to throw to. He didn't have that in Vegas. He did have Brock Bowers. Now, and I honestly look at this and I say, okay, the Jets are going to try to get him Brock Bowers 2.0, who's a lot faster and a lot meaner. Except he's a little bit shorter, but I can see this offense working. I really can. So, a team that nobody really suspected was going to take Kenyon Sadiq jumps up there and snatches him. Now, to me, that's an absolute shocker. That's a shocker. I didn't see that one coming. I thought they could have traded back, but I guess here was better than any place to risk taking Kenyon Sadiq. You don't want to try to get greedy and then and somebody snatches your guy. So I understand why they made the approach that they made. You know, who's to say that it was a bad decision? I'm not going to say it was a bad decision. I think it was an actually smart decision. One that I just absolutely did not anticipate. So yeah, I mean, right now you could honestly say that. Right now, I'm looking at one of my buddies, Bruce, over at the Format Podcast. His guys are active in the chat. Yeah, to say the least, this Bain is the steal of the draft. There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about that. He is the steal of the draft. So, as we have officially crossed the halfway threshold of the first round, you're looking at a team in the Detroit Lions, whom had a disappointing season as they attempt to get themselves, Dan Campbell and company attempt to get themselves back on track and back into the mix of competitiveness where they felt like they had established themselves. But as of now, they had a tough go at it. You know, we were talking about that Chicago Bears one score record at 7-2, where you look at how the Detroit Lions fared, and it was really the opposite. And a lot of the times it was this team was winning games, losing games, winning games, losing games, and they ended up with a 3-5 record. Whereas that team was winning a lot of games by one score the previous season. They would get behind in games. We saw it started this whole thing. Like I said, the Lions were 3-5 this season in one score games. And like I said, they did make a move. And if I recall correctly, David Montgomery is now a Houston Texan. So they're going to have to replace that production. Listen, I think Gibbs just an absolute dynamic back and is ready to take the reins. But I still think David Montgomery is very, very underappreciated in that Detroit offense. But it's pretty obvious what the Detroit Lions needed. And, of course, their pick is now in. And when I sit back and I look at the best players available and what they need to bring back and bring in, the Lions have a need, and I thought they would trade up for Francis Maui-Nova. I think they were under the impression that they would be able to trade up, but here's Roger Goodell with a special pick. Looks like a young man. It wouldn't surprise me if it was Monroe Freely or Caleb Lemieux. It would not surprise me one bit. Surprised the pick didn't get traded.
The NFL is proud to be part of the global community of wishmakers, taking action to support Make-A-Wish during World Wish Month. Tonight, you all have the opportunity to help grant an unforgettable wish. I'm joined here by Easton, a 14-year-old Lions fan whose wish is to announce the first-round draft pick for his favorite team. I'd like to ask all of you to join me in cheering on Easton as he makes his wish come true. Take it away, Easton.
With the 17th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Blake Miller, tackle, Clemson.
Wow.
Let's go!
Good job, Easton. Good job, Easton. God bless you, buddy. Well, you get to see a young man in Easton who had his wish come true and did a great job announcing the pick. The only reason I am... because you got Monroe Freeling and Caleb Lemieux on the board. The reason Blake Miller has to be the pick here is because of his ability to play both tackle spots. That's the only reason I can see this being the selection, you guys. We look at this and we say, why this selection? But then it all makes perfect sense. Because he can swap out. And like I said, he's a very good and was arguably, in my opinion, one of the most underappreciated guys coming into this draft. So I honestly think this was another surprise. To me, it was another surprise. Because you still got Monroe Freeling and Caleb Lemieux on the board. And yeah. And like I said, things are slowly starting to look up for, teams that are looking for tackles. It's possibly going to be a good opportunity for the Jets to trade back in. And here comes the commissioner again with the Vikings pick. They ran it up there, didn't they? I think we know who this is going to be. Try Dylan Thielemann, you guys.
With the 18th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Caleb Banks, defensive end, Florida.
my goodness. Are you kidding me right now? Caleb Banks. Caleb Banks, 6'6", 327 pounds. Wow. That is a shocker. Because I had so many people suspecting this guy was a first-round talent, but because of that injury to his foot, it was going to push his stock down. Boy, Minnesota had everyone played, including me. I just sat there and said Dylan Thieneman was going to be the pick. Well, I didn't. I said Thieneman, so I didn't say his name right. But, wow. This is a first-class shocker. This arguably is the shock of the draft. Because you would think that foot was going to be what was going to tailor him off. Every mock on the planet had Dylan Thieneman as the selection. And then when you think with Jermod McCoy and Makai Lemon still on the board, and you look at what Minnesota's needs are, corner and safety. We all know Harrison Smith is not coming back. We know this. I know they ain't thinking about taking Traydon Stoogs. But Carolina's pick is already in. You guys know me. I'm already there. I didn't get a chance to stop the show and put my shirt on, but keep pounding. Anybody from Growlin' and Prowlin', my other show, is watching. You guys, yeah. I'm actually very excited to see what this one is because, as I've said many times before, Caleb Banks was my guy. I was hoping we would have him in the second round, but unfortunately, the Minnesota Vikings saw something and went after it. I'm telling you, to me, whoa. That's all I can say. Some breaking news here. Ravens are picking up Zay Flowers' fifth-year option, so that is very good news for one Lamar Jackson and, of course, Zay Flowers himself. So with the Carolina Panthers on the clock, Jermod McCoy, Makai Lemon are on the board, along with Caleb Lemieux, Dylan Thieneman, Keldrick Faulk, Peter Woods, and Omar Cooper. Now, we've seen quite a few reaches in this draft, so I'm a little bit concerned at what Dave Canales and Dan Morgan do here, because when you look at the way the board has been, the best players available, hey, look, I'm just going to say it like this. We can say who the best players are available, but we don't know who these teams think are the best players available. You understand? We can sit here and talk with our heads above the clouds, but we don't really know what these teams think are the best available. So we can sit here and we can pretend like we know, but yeah. I mean, there is no way of knowing who these teams value. Like I said, you've got Makai Lemon that's left. You've got Jermod McCoy, Monroe Freeling, Akeem Mesidor, Dylan Thieneman. But my smart money, like I said, as much as we need to get depth at that corner, tackle position, I would have liked to have seen the Panthers trade back, accumulate more draft picks, especially with guys like Jermod McCoy on the board. And it wouldn't shock me if the Panthers actually took Jermod McCoy here because, like I said, he's a year removed from his injury. He actually ran at the combine, and you've got Mike Jackson who will be right at 30 after next season, but he's 6'3", 6'3 and a quarter. They said he tested really well at the combine. But as I said, Dave Canellis and Dan Morgan are all about surprises, and we shall see if Canellis and Morgan pulls another fast one and actually takes the best player on the board. Wouldn't shock me if it was Makai Lemon. So let's see.
With the 19th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Monroe Freeling, tackle, Georgia.
So the Dave Canellis and the Panthers don't take best available. They actually take Monroe Freeling. So that breeds some good news, in my opinion. I was hoping they trade back so we could possibly move up and take a certain wide receiver who's possibly going to be taken high in the second round. But as I said, it's actually very interesting when we start looking at where this Carolina Panther team is going. You know, especially with the injury to Ike Ekwonu and not the uncertainty. Like I said, they've got Taylor Moton, who is also on the other side of 30 and possibly with 2 years remaining. Oh, we got breaking news here as the Green Bay Packers have traded up from the Dallas Cowboys at 20. So the Joneses are making some good business moves. So I guess what that means is the Joneses were getting sleepy, so they decided, hey, let us go to bed early. It's getting late. Because right now it's 1 minute before 10. And the Eagles have taken the selection. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not the Eagles, it's
The Cowboys moving down 3 spots.
With the 20th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Makai Lemon, wide receiver, USC.
whew, you just almost saw this coming. As it looked like it went from from Dallas to Green Bay to the Eagles. At least that's what my laptop said, you guys. So you know how technology is. Sometimes it can slip the wrong button and so on and so forth. But looking at it right here, you see the smooth guy, Makai Lemon, an absolute slippery type of player, and he fell long enough. So when you think about what Philadelphia's done and what they're going to do, because we already know that A.J. Brown's fate is almost all but sealed in June, I think it is, and I think the plan is to move him to New England more likely. So in comes Makai Lemon. You know, you pair him with Devontae Smith. He's not a big presence either. Both of these guys are relatively small, and you're asking a guy like Jalen Hurts, whom there's been questions about his ability to distribute the football consistently. You know, we can't talk. You know, there's too many people that have talked about this kid, and he's been in 2 Super Bowls, and he's won 1 and was pretty daggone dominant in that one, where he basically, you know, went toe-to-toe with Mr. Mahomes and handled him mightily. So, yeah, we've seen some serious moves, and I'm actually starting to feel better about my decision to, you know, for my prediction, saying how many trades there were going to be, you know. So, yeah. And then you see Makai Lemon knowing he was going to be called, but he's still emotional, and you gotta love that. You know, that humility and that appreciation, you know, despite what certain people think about NFL players, they still love the game and they love the ability to compete. You know, and people like me love to get the ability to talk about it. You know, it's a great sport to critique. It's a lot of fun to be able to gab about it. But we've seen trade after trade here tonight, so it's been some good stuff, and that's what you like to see. You like to see teams surprise you. Two safeties that we thought, that I think it was Mel Kiper Jr. said were going to be selected, and like I said, you can't always go by the experts. They don't know what's going to happen from moment to moment. Right now, safeties are sliding down the board, and now you're looking at a situation where you've got teams that maybe don't need, possibly need safeties, and you could be back on the clock yet again. As right now the Steelers are. It would not shock me if the Steelers decided to trade this pick. Yeah, because the player that they wanted, Vavanga, was a guy that was sitting there, and of course, like the Chargers were a team that was really searching for a guard. I mean, we've seen some reaches in this draft, so that we can't rule that out. There's a huge possibility that you could have one of these guards go in the next 10 picks. Basantis is a guy that could go. I mean, we saw Blake Miller go a lot earlier than we thought, and here we are seeing Makai Lemon go. And we still see Gerard McCoy on the board. And when we look at the Steelers, they need QB, guard, linebacker, wide receiver, safety. This could be where Dylan Thieneman goes. I mean, it's possible. And believe it or not, Keldrick Falk is sitting there. I mean, like I said, Makai Lemon is off the board, and Gerard McCoy is right there. So, it's going to be very interesting to see who they take. And, of course, this being the home base, they're probably going to do something special for the Steelers in their picks and whatnot. But as I said, the Steelers could very well take this pick and roll with a Caleb Lemieux or Dylan Thieneman, whom they've said his IQ is beyond all very good, and he's very sideline to sideline. And as I've said many times, with the safeties in today's game, you can't just be a center fielder. You can't just be a guy that plays at the line of scrimmage. You got to be able to do a multitude of things. Dylan Thieneman and Caleb Downs fit that mark, as well as the young man out of Toledo, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. And another thing about Dylan Thieneman as well as Caleb Downs, these guys create turnovers, and that's what you want. You need guys that are going to turn you over as a defense. You need to be able to get the ball back. That is something that has been a staple with this Pittsburgh Steelers football team, dating all the way back to the Mike Tomlin era, as well as the Cowher era. So, yeah. So, that's where we are right now. We're waiting on the Steelers, and they're doing a whole hometown montage. And like I said, you're looking at where this team has, either made a playoff appearances, and they never had a losing season under Tomlin. But here we are with Jerome Bus Bettis bringing out a host of Steelers to announce the pick.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are committed to growing the game of football and celebrating athletes at every level. Joining me on stage are 6 Jerome Bettis Leadership Award recipients, featuring both high school tackle players and flag football athletes. Jerome?
The Jerome Bettis Leadership Award recognizes high school football players who demonstrate leadership, character, and service, both on and off the field. Congratulations to each of you. We wish all of you the best as you continue your football journeys. The last time I introduced the Steelers' first-round pick, I was fortunate to introduce T.J. Watt. And with
Max Ihanachur. Finally. I heard somebody say his name smooth. Well, 6'6", 321 pounds. Believe it or not, I didn't expect this guy to go before Caleb Lemieux. I didn't. Oof. That's tough, as my son would say. That's tough. So, looking at what the Steelers were able to do with this pick here, you got to be happy if you're a Steelers fan to snatch a guy like this. I think possibly they use him at guard. I'm not saying they aren't. It's possible that they do use him at guard. I mean, they could leave him at tackle. But nothing surprises me with the Steelers. You know, nothing really surprises me as, you know, they take Max Ihanachur. And, yeah, there you go. There you go. The Steelers. Steelers doing their thing. Always taking, I'm not even going to say the best player available. I mean, we're seeing a lot of teams that are pushing the envelope and taking a lot of players that, in my opinion, are not that high on the board. Now that's just me. Don't kill the messenger. That's just what I'm looking at as far as the big board goes. You know, you still got Jermod McCoy, and then you got Hakeem Mesidor, which to me this is a no-brainer. I think the Chargers definitely go Hakeem Mesidor. I really don't see any reason why they would go any place else but Hakeem Mesidor, given that they need, and they need an edge rusher. And what's funny is they don't show these guys on the phone anymore. They used to be when they would have them in the green room, they would absolutely show them on the phone, awaiting their, talking to the management. But I also think it's a situation where these teams have gotten more secretive about waiting until the commissioner calls them. I think they wait until they see Goodell up there on the stage, and then they wait, and as soon as the pick is there, they hit that speed dial number. But like I said, they need safety, cornerback, and guard as well as edge. But I don't see any reason why you would even think about not taking Hakeem Mesidor, Jerrod McCoy, or Dylan Thieneman. So, I think ultimately this is a huge decision for the Chargers. Do you gamble with Jerrod McCoy and his possible injury? Well, they did with Ruben Bain, so the Vikings did with Ruben Bain. So, we're gonna find out here in just a moment who the Chargers selected.
With the 22nd pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Hakeem Mesidor, linebacker, Miami.
There you go.
How about Hakeem Mesidor?
There you go. There you go. Now you pair Hakeem Mesidor, whom in my opinion has got one of the nastiest motors in this draft, and you look at the kind of player that he is and the type of pass rusher that he is. When you look at how his motor just absolutely just jumps off the board at you. I mean, he is just absolutely a monster on the defensive front, and he's just that good. I mean, there's no doubting that. He's just one of those guys that when he gets hot, and was able to get to Mendoza in the national title game. And of course, he was a terror against Notre Dame. I saw him firsthand against my Irish in game one. And route to their national championship game, their national championship berth. But you look at Mesidor, but he is an older prospect, so he's gonna be a talent out there in LA. He's gonna be an absolute terror out there. I don't see anybody looking down on this selection. Although you still got guys like Caleb Lemieux on the board, you got Dylan Thieneman, Keldrick Falk, the big defensive end. As we look here at what this Chargers football team is going to look like. And like I said, if they wanted to restock that defensive, that edge position, they just did it. And it was, Hakeem Mesidor was one of those guys. He could have been up, he could have been down, because the talk was his age. By the time he would get through with his first deal, he would be pushing 30. So, if not 30. So, you're talking about an older prospect, and you could argue the Chargers are ready to win. And I think you get a guy who arguably is a guy who is on his way. Just hopefully for the Chargers' sake, that you don't have to worry about this guy developing. He can just come in and dominate early, but he's not a lighter prospect. He's a quick engine type of guy with serious power and ability to get to the quarterback. So, guys, like I said, thank you for showing up here on my my second, but this is my first night streaming on this channel. Thank you guys so much for joining us here as we continue draft night. And guys, I'm going to say it's been a couple of surprises in there, and for the most part, I'm actually shocked because so many people said guys like Jeremiah McCoy and Dylan Thieneman were going to be off the board, and they are still here. And we are on pick number 23 and the Cowboys. And as we look here, we've got Caleb Downs, the safety. They still need a corner. Jeremiah McCoy, anyone? Possibly Caleb Lemieux. Anyone? It's possible. So I wouldn't be totally shocked if I saw Dylan Thieneman, possibly Caleb Lemieux, or even Jeremiah McCoy. So you're looking at three possibilities here. You've got their type of guys that they need in position for the taking. So the question is, do the Cowboys go Jeremiah McCoy? Or they even go, they've already gone. Well, you could go Keldrick Falk. You could go Keldrick Falk. You could go the almost 6'6", 276-pounder. Absolutely. I'm almost willing to bet. I almost forgot about him here. He didn't run a 40, but boy, I'll tell you what. Let's see, Daniel Jeremiah's best available. They've got Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I'm going to tell you, Keldrick Falk at 29. I'd say it like this. With Dallas already getting Caleb Downs, I'd say Keldrick Falk, y'all. The guy's, I don't care if he's 29th. I don't care what that thing says. I've got him ranked up here as the 19th best player in this draft, but simply because of his length and his. Now, he didn't run a 40, but this guy was absolutely destructive at Auburn. This guy was a lot of the reason why this Auburn team was able to stay in a lot of games with the putrid quarterback play that they had last season. But we're about to get the answer about what the Cowboys are going to do. They're finally going to make that second pick, you guys. Let's see what they do so Jerry can go home.
With the 23rd pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Malachi Florida.
That's a surprise. Malachi Lawrence? Ironically enough, he was the guy that got into it with Max Ihenacher at the senior day. Yeah, 6'4", 253 pounds. He has very, very, very powerful hands, huge potential, and they say juicy. That's what his scouting report is. He has playmaking range, and just by looking at his videos, you can look at him and tell he has a lot of Micah Parsons-esque type qualities. So, Jerry and his son make another reach. See, this is why I say, another kid crying. And, that's, you like to see that. Just soaking it all up, you guys. Happy for him. But I definitely think the Cowboys reached on this one. You could have made one more trade, and regardless of what you would have gotten here, I still think you should have, made that move. I don't think it's too early to take Lawrence. I really think that was too early, especially when you look at what there was still on the board. Like I said, you've got Jermod McCoy still on the board. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Surprisingly enough, Dylan Thieneman still on the board. Denzel Boston, whom the Cleveland Browns have on the board. And now the pick is already in. Wow. So looking at my big board, y'all help me out a little bit by being patient. Your boys here trying to stay up on this. I don't have a producer that whispers in my ear or has all of my stuff on a computer. But I'm thankful you guys are sticking with me. It is now 10:20, and if my boys out there watching, y'all need to go to bed. Go to bed. Yeah. This could be a spot where, because, right now, Jermod McCoy is flirting there, and you don't really have a lot of teams that need cornerback here until you get to the Chiefs. So, arguably, and they've already taken Mansour Delane. That's why you're hearing a lot of grades for him being drafted are being so low, because a lot of teams are saying that they reached for a guy that really nobody was going to select unless they were going to jump up, which we've seen a lot of teams hesitant to jump up there for players that aren't necessarily hugely sought after. But he's still on the board, and looking at where we are, Jermod McCoy, Dylan Thieneman, Denzel Boston, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Very interesting right now. It's getting very interesting right now. Like I said, Omar Cooper, Keldrick Falk. Like I said, Caleb Lemieux, and Zion Young's an interesting prospect. But I think, honestly, when I sit and I look at what the Cowboys did with Malachi Lawrence, to me, that was probably one of the biggest reaches of the draft next to the Caleb Banks. Who knows? Maybe he saw something. I don't know. Maybe the Joneses see something. I don't know. All I know is that they snatched him up, and away we go. Away we go. But let's go back and take a look at the let's take a look at what the Browns did with their first pick when they took Spencer Fano. They're a team that they've got their tackle. Now they need to get a wide receiver. And, of course, there are several predictions that are now saying David Boston's going to be the selection. Well, I don't see any reason why that's definitely a guy who can catch the ball. But it would not shock me if Omar Cooper was a guy that was there. Or even a KC Concepcion. They just need a guy that can hang on to the ball consistently. Biggest problem with the Browns is they just didn't have any daggum consistency when it came to guys catching the football. So, to me, it's either going to be David Boston or KC Concepcion. So, here's the commissioner. Let's see what we get.
First.
With the 24th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select KC Concepcion, wide receiver, Texas.
There you go. There you go. That's going to be a lot of speed. A lot of speed. Yeah. There you go, Jerry Jeudy. There you go, Jerry Jeudy. But probably the one thing that you would have to say that there's a concern with when you look at KC Concepcion is probably going to be the drops. You know, he has a lot of those. But I was actually surprised that Omar Cooper was not a guy that actually was here because he's 6 foot even. He's a little bit over 6 feet, but ran a 4.42 40. And whichever quarterback you get, now I get it. This pick sounds more like the Browns are geared towards building this offense for Shedeur Sanders rather than Deshaun Watson. Because when you remember at Colorado, Shedeur Sanders was a guy that he had a lot of his guys that could get a whole ton of space, and he was very good at getting guys the ball in open space, where he was able to use his legs and run guys open. KC Concepcion is that kind of wide receiver. He's able to get open. But then you look at it, you got guys like Quinshon Judkins, Harold Fannin, the number 1 pick from last season, or first round pick for them, who was absolutely a stud for them. So now you add KC Concepcion to the picture with Harold Fannin. There's going to be a lot of things that new head coach Todd Monken's going to be able to do. So, not surprising for me, but there's probably a lot of people that are actually surprised out there that are wondering, what's going on here. Now, I will tell you this, the team that is about to pick next, look, this almost obviously has to be Dylan Thieneman. I mean, there ain't no, look, he can't keep falling. I mean, arguably one of the most, arguably the gap between Caleb Downs and Dylan Thieneman is not that big, or even Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is not that big. I mean, let's keep it real, guys. I mean, the only way that the gap is that big is so many people don't value these guys. And even when you look at Gerard McCoy, like I said, or Jermod McCoy, who basically missed all of last season, and basically he's just now starting to get around. He did some drills, as I said, and like I said, he's number 2 position rank. I mean, that's saying a lot for a guy who did not play all of last year. You know, this is a guy who was just absolutely devastating in coverage. And he's a very smart cornerback. He's not one of those guys that he's just simply one of those guys that, just simply covers all the time. He's a guy that absolutely knows what he's doing. And he's a very big playmaker out there. So, we're getting up into the nitty-gritty. It is coming up on 10:30, you guys. I've had a blast. I have had a blast. Second live show / real-time stream. It's a lot of fun. See why people really like it. It's very different than actually pre-recording shows, but like I said, several surprises here tonight. I don't. Let me know in the comments how many of you guys are actually surprised at the players that you've seen so far. Because realistically, ladies and gentlemen, you can't pick a better time of the year than the NFL draft. It's absolutely a lot of fun, and yeah, it's absolutely fun time during this time of the year, because realistically, when you start to see, when you actually sit there and you start watching the players come off the board, all this predicting, it really stops and makes you reflect. Why did you think that? Or what were you thinking here? And like I said, it's a lot of fun. So here we are. Like I said, we're here, and we're pushing the 10:30 threshold, and we are at pick 25, which means we've got 7 more to go. And we've had a stretch where the picks have just been coming up. They've been back to back to back. Which is kind of, well, I guess when you look at what the commissioner Goodell's wanted to do, he's wanted to get it over by 11 o'clock. And of course, the Bears pick is in. We are checking them out, seeing what they got going on, see who they have selected. And it would not surprise me if Dylan Thieneman was the selection, but keep your ears out for Jermod McCoy. It's a possibility that could go down. Omar Cooper as well. Denzel Boston. Yeah. Keldrick Falk. Don't forget that name. But like I said, the Bears were a team that lived and died with their close games. Caleb Williams came out second season, started showing some of that Patrick Mahomes type qualities that many people thought was going to make him a champion. So, and he showed flashes of it. So here we go.
With the 25th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Dylan Thieneman, defensive back, Oregon.
So the guy.
There you go. There you go. Dylan Thieneman, the guy who had the unforced pleasure of being in the class with Caleb Downs. Very athletic, very talented. The talk about Dylan Thieneman is that he is a very, very rangy kind of guy, very intelligent, very smart. He comes in at just at 6'1", ran a 4.35 40, had a 41-inch vertical jump, very physical, very good at underneath coverage. Is a ball hawk, and he's just like Caleb Downs, very good at slot coverage. Is very good in run support. So this is why you get safeties like him in the first round. And honestly, when you look at what the Bears have gotten here, you get an all-purpose guy in that secondary, and you couldn't ask for a better player to select if you're the Chicago Bears. Now granted, he is a guy that played at Oregon last season and didn't play in a lot of horrible conditions like you play at Soldier Field or what the new stadium's coming. But he's a guy that can be the quarterback of your defense now. He's the guy that can lead the way and make things happen on the back end for a Bears defense that's looking for some answers vertically, and this guy gives them to you. But hopefully my son is not up to watch this, but he's a Buffalo Bills fan, and they are on the clock. And this is a team that is, in my opinion, searching for either an edge guy or a wide receiver in my point of view. I think ultimately they got to get someone to go with DJ Moore. That's where I'm at with this whole thing. I think they really have to get a guy that can help take Josh Allen's game to another level. They thought they were getting that with Keon Coleman, and unfortunately he has not developed. Now, it could be a situation where the Bills still believe in him. You know, Joe Brady possibly still believes in him, and then getting DJ Moore, the guy that's the underneath individual that is going to do his thing underneath, and possibly allow Keon Coleman to take the top off the defense with jump balls down the field. And possibly get that better matchups with the second DB as opposed to the number one, as DJ Moore would be drawing all of that. But you could also go with, it's kind of enticing. You need a major pass rusher. So 6'6", 276 Keldrick Faulk sitting there. Big time disruptor. I'm going to be honest with you that this would be very difficult to pass up. Very difficult to pass up. But I'm going to be honest with you, I'm looking at these teams, and somebody is going to trade up and get Jermon McCoy. It wouldn't shock me if the Chiefs did, but you could see the Dolphins trading up. You could very well see the Seahawks trade up. Because really, the Seahawks could just let him, if he's not ready to perform, which I don't see any reason why. They say he's been walking and doing drills and whatnot. So, I mean, unless there's something that we don't know. But we just had some movement, people, as the Houston Texans have traded with the Buffalo Bills and moved up. Huh. Who could they possibly be after? Who could they be after, people? And the pick is already in? They can't be going after Keldrick Faulk. They can't be going with Keldrick Faulk. Who could they be going to get? I hope they ain't trying to go get a guard this early.
Let's see what they do now.
With the 26th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Keelan Rutledge, guard, Georgia Tech.
My favorite player. I got asked by a lot of folks.
Huh. I'm a little confused right now. You trade up to go get Keelan Rutledge, who's a guy who was considered the 58th overall player and 53rd best player on my big board. So, not sure about that one. You trade up to... I hope they didn't have to give up much. Because that's... I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a good player. But when you got a guy that's got a second round grade... I don't know. I don't know about that one. I get Houston wants to make sure they get the players that they want. They don't want to have a situation that happened to them last season. I get it. I understand it. But what the heck? I mean, in the words of my son, what the heck? Well, both my sons. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Well, I guess that's when you get coaches that say they want to play for the best player available as opposed to going out there for your needs and whatnot, because realistically that's what happens. You make decisions like that aren't necessarily profitable or, valuable. You mess up the value of what you're doing because you have to go out and you have to do this and that. Yeah, it just becomes a big issue when you're not able to maximize the draft. And it happens every year, you guys. And I'm not trying to be a fuddy-duddy, but it happens every year. Somebody overselects for a certain player that they absolutely have to have. So, yeah, not trying to be a fuddy-duddy for the Houston Texans, because I like the Houston Texans. I'm a Houston Texans fan. I think C.J. Stroud is one of my favorite players, because if you guys remember, I have Bryce Young. I love the guy, but I also loved C.J. Stroud, too. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with that. So, where we are in all this, the Dolphins pick is in. And the question is, who's it going to be? So, my point of view is, when you look at what Malik Willis has to get around him. Now, so many people are sitting here saying, okay, they got a Caden Proctor, the big athletic tackle, but they still need a guard, and they still need a wide receiver. Now, this is where the Dolphins better, they're flirting with disaster. Now, they did make a good decision by doing what they did. But what's got to happen is they better be trading up for a guy that is absolutely worth the selection or worth the trade up. And right now, Emmanuel McNeill-Warren is the number 2 guy on this chart. Or it could be Jermod McCoy. Who's to say? I think it's going to be one of these 2 guys. Jermod McCoy is either going to be Jermod McCoy or it's going to be Emmanuel McNeill-Warren. And then the Dolphins need to be figuring out how they're going to wheel and deal. They're going to have to wheel and deal to get these 2 fast wide receivers. They're going to have to get at least 2 of these guys. I was thinking maybe they could get, the way safeties have been falling, we haven't seen any teams trading picks for next season yet. So, we could start seeing those come off the board here real soon. But here comes the commissioner to let us know what the Miami Dolphins have done. Will they help Willis or will they help that defense?
With the 27th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Chris Johnson, defensive back, San Diego State.
What?
So they go.
What's going on here? I ain't believing this. I am not believing this. 6 foot 193. San Diego State, Chris Johnson. When you still got Jermod McCoy. This has got to be unprecedented. A guy who is arguably one of the best athletes in this draft not being selected. I guess this 1 year off is really scared a lot of teams off of Jermod McCoy because his sophomore season was just absolutely great. I wouldn't have been upset if the Panthers would have took him. But he's still sitting on the board. There's going to be somebody that's going to jump right back in this draft and snatch him. And the Bills are already on the clock, but it looks like their pick's already in. Like I said, you still got Jermod McCoy on the board, and now we've just seen a trade as the Patriots are now on the clock, and their pick is in. So no, it was not the Buffalo Bills. The trade was in. So there you have it, people. there you have it. As you look here, there's been a lot of surprises. I'm not even going to kid with you. There's been the experts, as always, are almost half right. But then your boy, Mr. CeeLo, has been more. I would say this. I got the first 5 picks were, well, excuse me, the first 10 picks were kind of upside down because realistically, I would have expected a lot of Sonny Styles to have been gone sooner than he was gone. But here's the selection as the Patriots traded with the Buffalo Bills. Sorry, son. Hopefully you're in bed.
Their first pick, the AFC champion Patriots on the clock.
With the 28th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Caleb Lemu, tackle Utah.
So Mike Vrabel and company decided that, hey, we're going to get the 6'6", 313-pound beast and fortify that edge spot for Drake May. Big kid. Looks like the whole family of men is absolutely very, very big. So, yeah. Looking at this guy, he is very physical and very much a force on that outside, that left tackle position. So, that, I don't want to call it a disaster because he was a rookie, but you look at that entire left side of the New England Patriots, and, the question is, did they do this because of the Super Bowl? And I don't think it was just they did it because of the Super Bowl. A lot of people were asking, whether or not this guy could come in and really make a difference in this Patriots offensive line. And there's no doubt about it. The Patriots want to make sure in Mike Vrabel's style of coaching and his style of, they want to run the football. They don't want it to be just the Drake May show. They want to be able to run the football and protect guys like Will Campbell. There's a lot of people that are saying that Will Campbell was the weakest link. He's just a rookie. I mean, you could argue he was the weakest link, but look, I'm not going to sit here and blame just him. I mean, you had Jarrett Wilson in the guard position. He didn't do a great job last season. So, you can blame him if you want to, but the left side was the only weakness the Patriots had. And like I've said on this show, the Patriots' schedule did not allow that weakness to be exposed. So, realistically, I think this is an excellent selection. I do think they need to get another weapon. And we are approaching the final 3 picks as the San Francisco 49ers, who accumulated their pick from the Dolphins via Denver, whom traded that in that Jalen Waddle deal. So it's going to be interesting to see what the 49ers do here. It would not shock me if Denzel Boston is the selection, the 6'4", 212-pound beastly wide receiver out of Washington. So, as I said, I'm still looking at a guy like Keldrick Falk, who's sitting here on the board, and Jermod McCoy. So, yeah. To me, premium edge rushers, that whether they can stop the run, but can get after the passer, at least if they can stop the run, they're a huge asset. Now, maybe not first-round assets, but if they can at least set the edge efficiently and put some pressure, you got something. But because a lot of these edge rushers that are not pure speed rushers, they have to develop some. And when you look at a team like the 49ers, they've built the reputation of having some of the best front 4 guys in the business. But right now, they're going to have to get some help at that wide receiver position. There's no getting around that. They have to get some help there. But first, we have the Kansas City Chiefs on the clock for their second of 2 picks in the first round. As I said, they have some of the same needs that the 49ers have. Edge, wide receiver. But when you look at what this team needs more than anything else, they've got to make sure when they get Patrick Mahomes back, they can properly protect him. Now, this is important because the Chiefs have a 40th pick here. So, as much as Boston may look like the pick, this is why I think the 49ers is going to be safe to take them. There's really not a lot of elite tackles left in this draft. Like we saw, Lemieux just got selected. And you're looking at this and you're saying, really, he was the last one that went off the board. So if you're the Chiefs, you almost have to take a guy like Boston. Now, me personally, I'm looking at this board and I'm saying Omar Cooper's the guy. As far as Denzel Boston, I'm not. Boston's not what you call a burner. I think ultimately with Rashee Rice, you want to get somebody that's just as quick, 6'3", 212 pounds. A little bit is his durability, but who knows? Here comes the commish with the Chiefs selection at...
With the 29th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Peter Woods, defensive tackle, Clemson.
Oh boy, now that was a shocker. Peter Woods? That was definitely a shocker. Because I would have suspected wide receiver. You know, Omar Cooper or Denzel Boston. Primarily Omar Cooper, but Peter Woods? This is why I say the draft takes a turn along this line. Because now you've got Peter Woods coming off the board. And the prospects look better and better for certain teams that want certain players. Because, well, let me rephrase that. Let me phrase that. It looks better for certain teams that want certain players to fall. Because right now we're seeing Jermod McCoy dip. And if you're a team that's looking for a top level corner, don't be surprised if we start seeing teams calling to trade up into this first round to get Jermod McCoy so that they could get that 5th-year option. Because to me, from what I saw, I don't see anything holding him back from being able to perform the first season. I think everything's looking good. But Peter Woods, 6'2.5", 298 yards. I guess they see him as a Chris Jones type hybrid defensive tackle. Surprisingly enough, Caden McDonald hasn't been snatched up. But then, like I told you guys, Zion Young, he's still sitting there. And, you know, you're looking at two teams that, well, you already had one select. So now it is on the New York... Wait a minute, people. We've got some drama. The Jets have traded. The Jets have traded, people. And the Jets have made their selection. They have made their selection. Who could this be? Who could this be? As the commish walks back out, could they be taking Boston? Let's see.
First round, Joe Douglas traded back in.
With the 30th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver, Indiana.
Don't ask for a lot, Rich.
Omar Cooper, people. So the Jets have made some serious noise. And Omar Cooper will now be paired with Speedy Kenyon Sadiq, Speedy Garrett Wilson, excuse me. The Jets ain't playing. And this is what I wanted to see from the Miami Dolphins. And I don't know if this is a good thing for the Dolphins, because they've gotten a tackle in a corner, and I hope that with their 43rd pick, they decide to take another one of these fine wide receivers that is in this draft. And as I said, Jermod McCoy is still in this thing. So this is absolutely massive that the Jets have traded up. I'm still trying to get the details on this trade that was made, because right here at the end of the first round, you see a lot of shaping and shivering and twisting and turning that could possibly move some things. And like I said, it would not surprise me if we saw at least one more move. It would not surprise me if we saw one more move, as the Bills are now on the clock finally. Let's see if they still hold up, because the way it's been, as we are searching for the possibility that another move can be made with these last two picks, because usually at the end of the first round, that's where you see a lot of jumping. Now, if Ty Simpson would have been available and the Rams had not jumped in there, made one of the top surprises of the night, we would still be talking about the possibility of somebody like Arizona, possibly the Jets. Now, because with the Jets now, as I said on my show, I just didn't think it would be this late. But I should have known better. The Jets were not going to trade up. They were going to trade back, and then trade up. Which, you look at it and you think to yourself, okay, Jets, y'all ain't trying to play. But now we've seen the Titans have traded in for this next to the last pick in the first round. Who could they be coming after? The only thing I can figure is it has to be Keldrick Falk. It's got to be one of Robert Saleh's guys. Listen, when you get a defensive coach in there, if he's going to take an offensive player, he got to have him some kind of dude to say, hey, look, I got to get mine. I got to get mine, yo. And I'm telling you, it's got to be Keldrick Falk. It's got to be Keldrick Falk, man. I just can't see it any other way. He went and got Carnell Tate. I guarantee he was just like. So, trades back in, gets his guy. I'm almost certain that's what it's going to be. So, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I got a feeling it's going to be Keldrick Falk. So the Titans making a surprise move and jump right back into the first round. Interesting. And here comes the commissioner to tell us all about it. Unfortunately, he ain't giving us no trade details tonight, so we're kind of having to play both sides.
Pittsburgh, before the Titans pick, congratulations, you set a record for the first night of the draft. 320,000 people here tonight. Congratulations, Pittsburgh. Awesome. With the 31st pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Keldrick Falk, defensive end, Auburn.
Told you.
Well, you were on that CD thinking about that.
Told you. Robert Sala's the defensive coach, you guys. There ain't no way in the world he's gonna let offense dominate his first night. As a coach of a new organization, ain't happening. So we see Keldrick Faulk, in my opinion, one of the monsters in this draft. Basically 6'6", 276. Would have loved to have seen how he tested in the 40-yard dash. Yeah, absolutely above average arm length. When you think Robert Sala's defense, you think big physical defensive ends, guys that can not only stop and dominate the edge, but guys that can absolutely get to the quarterback by pushing tackles and dominating tackles and just wearing them out. And when you look at what the Tennessee Titans are now going to have on their defense, this guy's going to be the centerpiece of it. You know, the guy looks extraordinarily slender. You know, you see him in his pads, he's like a monster. But then you see him, he's slimmed down. But this guy's all ripped. This guy's a muscle package. And honestly, he is what you would probably wanted if you were the Seahawks, who are on the clock right now. But I'm just gonna say it like this: there have been a lot of rumors that Jadarian Price could possibly be selected here, the running back out of Notre Dame. But this is what I suggest. If I'm a Seahawks fan, you need to fortify that edge position. And honestly, the guy that I said you needed to take a shot on, Zion Young, is here. You need a kid like this. The 6'6", 262 pounds, out of the ATL, went to school at Missouri, and did not test for the 40. But I'm going to be honest with you, the 6'6" is enough in the slender body. You do not want to have to deal with this kind of a human being on the edge if you're a tackle, because he's extremely slender. His arms are exceptionally long. And that is definitely not something you want to deal with. Because Keldrick Faulk was so good on that defense. He basically had teams game planning to basically keep him out of the backfield. But as we sit and we look at what this Tennessee Titan team has just now procured in his talents, all you can say is they've got a couple of more picks to possibly get Cam Ward another weapon. Hopefully they can maybe settle on maybe trading back up, because there's some fine wide receivers. There's some quick wide receivers in the latter rounds. They definitely need to get somebody that, excuse me, that is going to be able to help Cam Ward move this offense. And Jeremiah Love would have been in there. That would have probably been a huge difference maker for this offense. But they did get Carnell Tate. That's almost as good, but we'll just have to wait and see. But now we wait for the final selection of the night. If it doesn't get traded, of course. But I'm thinking the Seahawks are going to go edge. A lot of people were saying they were going to go Jadarian Price. But as we've seen tonight, anything can happen. Anything is possible. And to say that the experts have not been completely right is an understatement. As we are looking, we see the 49ers have slid all the way down to the second round. And this is going to allow the 49ers to have some serious bank when it comes to what they're going to be able to do. Looks like they're going to have 2 picks in the second round and 3 picks in the fourth round. So they know something. So, but we'll see if they keep those picks. As Roger Goodell walks out, he's escorted by someone. So we're going to see him. I wonder if he's someone from Make-A-Wish. We'll see what the Seahawks do, as I said.
As we conclude round 1 of the 2026 NFL Draft, we're proud to continue recognizing our long-standing partnership with Make-A-Wish this World Wish Month. I'm thrilled to be joined by Dylan, a huge fan of the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks, who bravely battled a brain tumor and is now a 2-time cancer survivor. This is a wish come true for Dylan, and a chance to take part in one of the most exciting moments in our league. Dylan, when you're ready, stage is yours.
What's going on with Pittsburgh? Yeah! I'm so excited to be here to represent the 12s. Oh, and the reigning Super Bowl champion, Seattle with the 32nd pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Jadarian Price, Notre Dame running back.
Well, they called it. They said that they wanted to get a replacement for the Super Bowl MVP, and they did it. So I've had the privilege of seeing this guy for 4 years. He's absolutely fun to watch. A lot of people say, he gets covered up because of Jeremiah Love. Seahawks, you just got yourselves a very slippery, elusive, very much a guy who is okay with looking for the holes. He's just a lot like Kenneth Walker. And he's able to look for the holes and the gaps. He's a very patient runner. So good. But Jeremiah Love is so much an elite talent that you absolutely forget that Jadarian Price is on this team. But us Notre Dame fans don't. So now you bring Jadarian Price and you pair him with JSN and Cooper Kupp and then Zach Charbonnet, who is still recovering from his injury. You got a dynamic offense. And guys, I'm going to tell you, this is going to be an absolute tough offense to deal with already. And now you're talking about adding Jadarian Price into that mix. Don't be surprised if you see Jadarian Price being the starter even when Zach Charbonnet comes back. But I was almost certain that Zion Young was going to be the selection for Seattle. Now, I'm not saying Seattle won't trade back in, but the thing that I look at with this entire selection process of the Seahawks is yes, there's only one pick, but I looked at them needing a guy like Zion Young, and with him being available there, I was actually absolutely surprised that he was not selected there, but he wasn't. So, there you have it, you guys. The first round. Let us take a moment and reflect on the first 32 picks as Jermod McCoy is the best available, and honestly, he was the 16th ranked player and on some boards. But unfortunately, this, what happens on draft night? There are certain players that drop, and that's what made the Mansour Delane selection, trade up and selection, such a huge, reach. You're not supposed to be going after players that necessarily are not going to be, selected, at such a clip. And realistically, when I look at this and I say, it's very interesting. It's absolutely very interesting that the Chiefs traded up for a guy that, in retrospect, is, possibly could have gotten at their, position where they are and possibly traded back. So I think that's probably going to be one of those head scratchers there. You're going to have people debating whether or not this was a good selection, whether it was a bad selection, and so on and so forth. But the first round has been wrapped up, and we will find out, as there were a couple of trades here, especially right there at the end. So the question is when we start looking at the second round, who's going to try to trade up? And you're probably going to see teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Atlanta Falcons, the Green Bay Packers, the Denver Broncos, the Indianapolis Colts, as well as the Cincinnati Bengals possibly trading in early on in that second round, because they're going to have itchy fingers. They're going to have itchy trigger. They're going to have itchy draft fingers. They're going to want to trade in and get in. They've had to sit here through 3 hours and 9 minutes of this, and they're going to want to get in here. Especially when you look at teams that have needs of the players that are on the clock. You got guys like Jeremiah McCoy, and you're going to see teams like the Bengals who need a corner. They need a safety. Would not shock me if I saw the Bengals trade up tomorrow or even tonight. Would not surprise me if they have guys on the phone right now and they've made an agreement, but they won't, of course, most of the time, let me say that. Let me be safe. They won't release that until, the next day, or sometimes Adam Schefter breaks it. Like I said, you got the Bengals that could possibly trade up. You got the Colts and the Falcons who could very well trade up in this. Being that the Colts need a wide receiver and a safety, or an edge guy. They could get one of those three players right there early on in the second round. Falcons need a wide receiver and a corner. They could very well jump in there and snatch Jeremiah McCoy. Who's to say? As I said, you're looking at teams that have not had a chance to select, and especially the Green Bay Packers, with cornerback being the number one option on their board. You could very well see them jump in there early in that second round. The 49ers are going to have some serious calls, especially since they've got the 33rd and the 58th pick. They could entertain some serious calls here early on, and possibly you've got the Buffalo Bills that are playing that game as well. They've traded back, so they didn't make a selection tonight. But when you look at what the Kansas City Chiefs were able to do, and the Jets being able to take three first-round picks, and and then of course you see the Dolphins trade back up to get Chris Johnson, which I thought was a reach. Let's hope that works out. And they took Caden Proctor. And then we saw the Patriots trade up to get Caleb Lemieux, who was the final tackle of that group of tackles that were deemed worthy of being the top tackles or what you consider the first round tackles. And probably when I think about the biggest reach of the night, it's got to be between Minnesota and the Houston Texans by taking Caleb Banks, whom there were a lot of questions about. He has first round talent, but then the injuries. And then you've got Keelan Rutledge, who is ranked low because he wasn't the Vivega Ione factor. He wasn't that dude. So it was those kind of questions that make you wonder about Keelan. Then Keelan Rutledge, to me, was not even the top tackle left. I mean, you still got Chase Basantes. as well as Emmanuel Progman. So, unless there was something Houston absolutely loved about him, I don't know. But the big storyline is that the Ohio State Buckeyes were gonna have 4 guys called, within, was it gonna be the first 5 picks? But no, it wasn't. To me, the biggest surprise was Jeremiah Love going as early as he went. And I'm gonna do some listening to podcasters that are absolutely big fans of the Arizona Cardinals, so I can find out and gauge what they did. So, I'm going to sign off here momentarily in a minute, but I want to go down the final rundown of what we saw. Excuse me, guys. But let us get ready and have the final rundown of the picks as I get ready to sign off and go to Growlin' and Prowlin'. Guys, if you are Carolina Panther fans, I am about to go live over there for a few minutes and talk about what the Carolina Panthers did, but I will be back with you guys at a later time tomorrow. Hopefully I will be back sooner than later tomorrow. We'll probably run down a little bit longer because we've got rounds number 2 and number 3 tomorrow. This is where the stakes get interesting, and this is where they get big, because a lot of your unknowns are hidden in there, and you got some knowns like Jerron McCoy, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. This is where your real wheeling and dealing will go. But let us go through. As Fernando Mendoza's taken number 1, we knew this for almost 4 months. David Bailey, the exceptional speed rusher out of Texas Tech, goes number 2 to the Jets. Jeremiah Love, arguably the best athlete in this draft, goes number 3 to the Arizona Cardinals. Number 4, the wide receiver Carnell Tate out of Ohio State, goes to the Tennessee Titans. Edge rusher Arvell Reese goes to the Giants. As I said, that was one of the perplexing selections of the night because of the number of speed rushers that the Giants already have. Then probably the reach of the night, the Kansas City Chiefs trade up to number 6 to get cornerback, LSU cornerback Mansour Delane. And then at number 7, the Washington Commanders select all-around linebacker Sonny Styles. And then you can see the Saints slip in there and take Jordan Tyson at 8. Once again, the Browns slip back to number 9 and take outstanding tackle Spencer Fano out of Utah. And then, of course, you see the Giants get their pick where Mel Kiper Jr. predicted. Francis Maui Noah. Can't believe Fano was taking over Maui Noah still. But then the Cowboys come in and take arguably the best player on the defensive side in this draft in Caleb Downs at number 11. Then you see the Dolphins, who traded back to the Cowboys spot, come in and take Caden Proctor, which was one of the first surprises of the night. Then we see probably the biggest, probably to the world, but not to me, because there was a lot of talkings that, there was possibility that Ty Simpson could be, that Matt Stafford was going to retire and they were going to be looking for an heir apparent. You get quarterback Ty Simpson out of Alabama, and Vavega Iani out of Penn State goes to the Ravens at 14. Then you see Reuben Bain, who's arguably one of the guys that you're going to look at as one of the steals of the draft, going 15 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because I had initially projected Akeem Mesidor going to them. But they get his Batman. No disrespect to Akeem, but everybody knows Bain. A lot of people didn't know Mesidor until later. Then the Jets pull a slick one. Nobody saw Kenyon Sadiq becoming a Jet, but honestly, this could very well be one of the wildest picks in the entire draft if they utilize this guy correctly, because what they did later could very well follow up what they did here. And then the Lions arguably took a surprise pick when you look at what they selected with Blake Miller, because I saw Blake Miller as possibly a swing guy that was being undervalued. Now, his rankings, I had him ranked as one of the top tackles, but when you look at the way guys like Mel Kiper Jr. had him ranked, and so many of those other guys out there, they didn't have him nearly ranked as high as I did. When you get a guy that can play both sides of the tackle on both sides of the line, and do it well. So I thought that this was a pretty good selection, little bit of a reach in my opinion, but I guess the feel of the draft had them uncomfortable, especially with the Carolina Panthers lingering right there and having seen Blake Miller. So I guess that was kind of what their thought process was. And probably the head scratcher, because we had all been told since probably late February that I would say late March, that the Minnesota Vikings were going to select Dylan Thieneman. And they threw a curveball at us and took arguably the strongest and biggest and most frightening defensive tackle prospect-wise. If Caleb Banks stays healthy and can get in shape, he could be the scariest tackle in this draft. It's all going to depend. And then, of course, the Carolina Panthers take Monroe Freeling and basically trying to fortify that tackle position with the Ike Ekwano's season in question and possible tenure with the Carolina Panthers in question. Then the Eagles trade up in the Cowboys spot to take outstanding wide receiver Mekhi Lemon, with the pretty much the departure of Brown and AJ Brown written on the wall, and then Max Iheanacher is selected by the Pittsburgh Steelers. So when I look at what the Steelers are trying to do, they're basically trying to rebuild that offensive line and get some well-needed pass protection for whether it's their quarterback of the future or whether it's Aaron Rodgers for this season. But they still need to snatch up a guard. Now, Iheanacher is a guy that can play both now. Now, there's a possibility that they could move him there. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but there's possibility. He's 6'6", 321, and an absolute monster. Then you see the Chargers. They stake their claim on Akeem Mesidor, the 6'3", 250-pound, 260 really, who just is absolutely has some ferocious hands. And is absolutely just relentless getting to the quarterback. A lot of fun to watch is Akeem Mesidor. And then the Cowboys, whom traded down, come back to take Malachi Lawrence, probably a wild card. Another guy whom I felt like they reached for, basically because he was a guy, in my opinion, that felt like a Micah Parsons, 6'4", 253 pounds. Let's hope the Joneses got it right. That's all I can say. Let's hope they got it right. He ran a 4.52 40 and had a vertical jump of 40 and had a broad jump of 10 foot 10 inches. So the guy's an athlete. He's a freakish athlete. So was Michael Parsons. So let's see if that's going to translate on the field. Then we see the Cleveland Browns take KC Concepcion with the 24th pick. Now they've gotten their guy as far as the receiver, tackle, and I think you could very much settle in that they've got their quarterback. So now all they have to do is get a center and a guard. You can very well see this team take another wide receiver here if a guy like let's look at it realistically, you guys. You've got Denzel Boston, you got Chris Bale. And I'm going to be honest, you got the 70th pick. You could take that 74th and 70th pick, package them, and trade back into this second round and get either. You could either go ahead and take a guy like a Chris Brazel, Chris Bell, a Ted Hurst, or you could package the deal and try to get Emmanuel Pregnan or a Chase Basantis. But you need to get two of these guys. You need to get one. You need to get your guard and you need to get your wide receiver. But they got KC Concepcion. And then the Bears come in and steal Dylan Thieneman and answer some questions at that safety position. Now they just have to answer the tackle and the edge position. Now the thing I would say is that there are not a lot of guys at the edge position at 57 and 60. So the Bears may have to package that 57 or that 60th pick with that 89th pick or that 129th selection and hope that they can get their wide receiver between Antonio Williams and Jeremy Bernard or possibly Ted Hurst to go with their core of receivers that they lost in DJ Moore. Then you look at probably the reach of the draft, and the Houston Texans going to get Keelan Rutledge out of Georgia Tech. I like him, but I just not think he was a first-round talent. Because now you look at it, and you packaged that 26th, that 60th, that extra pick that you had. I think it was 69th, that 69th pick, and unfortunately now you give that pick to the 49ers, and yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not the 49ers. My bad. You give that pick to the the Titans. So, yeah. Not sure what the logic there was. So, the Houston Texans making a mistake there, and yeah, not sure where that was, but they do have the 38th pick, so they could possibly make a decision about possibly linebacker, possibly defensive tackle, because there's still some dominating defensive tackles on the board. So then we move along to the Dolphins trading back up to take Chris Johnson. This was another head scratcher. But the Dolphins do have a 43rd and a 75th, 87th, and 94th pick, which they could probably play around and move back up. Then you got the 28th pick, which the Patriots snatched up by moving back up to take Caleb Lemieux to get that fortified at offensive line. He's 6'6", and a fourth, weighs 313 pounds, basically trying to keep Drake May upright. And then probably another head scratcher here is why did the Chiefs? Well, I can't say it's a major head scratcher because Peter Woods was a guy that was rated high in a couple of mock drafts. But you look at the Chiefs, they went defense. And Peter Woods is one of those guys that, he fits the Chris Jones bill. He's thick, stouty, and quick. But now the Chiefs have to get their tackle, which there's not a lot of Peckins left, so they probably will snatch their wide receiver more likely at this point. But the Jets trade back in the first round and snatch Omar Cooper Jr. to go with Kenyon Sadiq and their star Garrett Wilson. Jets had an awesome draft. That's all I'm going to say. And then the Titans trade back in the first round and they select Keldrick Falk. Because like I said, you already knew Saleh wasn't going to get out of here without getting him a big dog to start his reign as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. And closing things out were the Seattle Seahawks, as many of us had predicted that Jadarian Price, the running back out of Notre Dame, was going to be their selection. But guys, as this wraps up, we'll be back with you tomorrow and trying to do better. And I appreciate you guys hanging around, checking me out. I just hope you guys will become more and more verbal and communicate. Maybe you'll watch this show and then decide that you want to communicate with Mr. CeeLo, hopefully. But guys, it is coming up on 11:30, and a lot of you guys, I know you got to work. Your boy took time off so he could be able to do this. This is one of my favorite times of the year. I love the draft. I think it's awesome. But it's about time for us to go night-night. Sit back, enjoy a little bit. If you guys are Growling and Prowling fans, I said I was going to go live, but I will do a show early tomorrow morning. And yeah, I will do it tomorrow morning because there's really not much to react to. Yeah. But guys, stay safe, be cool, And remember, join us back here tomorrow on this same Gab channel, same Gab platform.